All righty. We're going to go ahead and call to order our board meeting for tonight, Monday, December 15th at 7:01 p.m. And so we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. You can join us.
Of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll move on to roll call. Let the record show all 5 trustees are in attendance, as well as our 2 student trustees. If we have no amendments to the agenda, if I can have approval of our agenda as it is.
I move that we approve the agenda as stated.
Okay, moved by Catherine. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Alex. Student board members.
I approve. I approve.
That's loud. Board, all in favor? Aye. Okay. So we'll move forward with the agenda as it is. 7.3, the board did take action in close. Board voted 5-0 to approve a multi-year compromise agreement with parents of a student to resolve potential and threatened claims against the district in exchange for funding of private services in an alternate program for a student during the 2025-2026 school year in an amount not to exceed $170,000. The board also voted 5-0 to approve a multi-year compromise agreement with parents of a student to resolve potential and threatened claims against the district in exchange for funding of private services in an alternate program for the student during the 2025-2026 and 2026-2027 school year in an amount not to exceed $60,000. So 7.4, just to notify the audience that as with our open sessions, they are audio taped and streamed. Which moves us to 8.0, our annual organizational meeting. So we'll start with 8.1 and I'll open it up to the board to see who would like to serve in an officer capacity this year. We have 3 offices, the president, vice president, and the clerk. And at this time, would like to hear if anyone would like to serve within those offices.
Well, I would like to serve as president. I took the board president workshop and I also served as acting board president from June through September. And I would like everyone to feel included and for us to continue to focus on student outcomes.
I'd like to stay as clerk for this year. I would always like to be an officer, but I've been all the offices before, so I don't know that that's in order at this time.
And I'd like to be a vice president. I think it's important to learn from, if Tid is elected or any of 3 of you guys, from people who have been on the board for a while, especially given the fact that all 3 of you are up for re-election. So I think for continuity's sake, it's important for either Alex or I, but if Alex is not willing to move away from her position, I definitely would like to step up and act as a vice president.
Under these positions need to be voted on, so there needs to be a motion.
Yeah, I think we were just airing out what we were interested. The only other thing I want to note that I think it's really important, having been the clerk, vice president, and president this year, that everyone on the board takes an opportunity to exercise some leadership and lead. And I think it is really valuable to observe and learn from other board members who've served in that capacity. So I think now we want to make a motion, right? Or a nomination, if we agree with those that expressed interest in serving. And so I can start.
Oh, you want to
And-
start?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll start. I'll start and nominate Theta to be president for this next term or next year.
Second.
And so if there's a second,
I'll second.
so moved by Esme, seconded by Vadim. All those in favor of Theta serving as president? So, right, yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All those in favor of Theta becoming president? 5-0. Okay. And then is there someone else who'd like to nominate vice president?
I would like to nominate Vadim because he would like to do that.
I'll second.
Okay, so moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex. All those in favor, having Vadim serve as vice president?
I'm supposed to raise my hand.
5-0. And then
I also nominate Alex to continue as clerk.
and I'll second. So moved by Catherine, seconded by Esme. I have Alex serve as clerk. All those in favor? Aye. We go.
Well, congratulations to the new officers. And also I'd like to congratulate Esme on a successful year. You had many opportunities to lead and you did so quite admirably and really impressed from starting last year at CSBA all the way through tonight. And as a token of the district's appreciation for leading as president, I'd like you to have that.
Appreciate it. Want me to open it?
Sure.
Yeah.
So people can see the gold studded watch. We got you.
Hopefully nothing I have to report on.
2 pieces.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not just a piece of wood. It's there you go.
This is great. Thank you to the district. Thank you.
And now we can do a little, you do not have to move. Actually, Catherine and Alex do not have to move, but Vadim, if you don't mind taking the vice president's chair and Theta, and you get to be on third base. Actually, technically that'd be first base.
Oh, right. We have to switch our name tags. Thank you, Vadim. Okay. All right. Is it, oh, we're still settling in. Okay, is everyone ready? Oh, you're still settling in. Okay. And everyone here? Okay, great. Okay, so now we move on to 8.2, our annual appointments of the superintendent as the executive secretary to the Board of Trustees for the 2026 calendar year. This allows, among other things, staff to create minutes for us and for the superintendent to report on the communications correspondence part of our meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we consider a motion? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move that Eric Volta, our superintendent, be appointed executive secretary to the board for 2026 calendar year.
Okay, second?
I second.
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex. Any questions or comments? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. Lucy, how do you vote?
I approve.
Okay, Claire,
I approve.
board, all in favor? Okay, that's 5-0. Next, 8.3. This is the formal adoption of the board meeting calendar we looked at last meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we consider a motion? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the calendar as presented.
Second? Second. Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Esme. Claire,
I approve.
Lucy. Board, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, now 8.4. This is our annual naming the board representative for the committee, the county committee 2026 election. This trustee officially fills out the ballot and is traditionally being the president. We've always voted, that said, we've always voted as a board. And if you elected me, I would see my role as facilitating discussion and casting votes according to the board's will. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we consider a motion? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we appoint the president as the representative to the annual county committee on district organization election.
Okay,
And as Theta said, this is traditionally always the president.
okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Catherine, seconded by Esme. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we move on? Okay, seeing none. Lucy,
I approve.
Claire,
I approve.
board, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Next, 8.5, where we vote on our annual board committee assignments. We discussed this in our special open session run by former President Esme. And I'll read out again what she listed, but I need her to pass the paper first.
I hope you can read my writing.
Yes, please let me know if I make any mistakes. So does anyone have any questions or comments before, oh, sorry, let me read out the list first. So for challenge team, we have Theta and Catherine. For Los Altos City Council meetings, attend as needed, we have Alex. For Los Altos High School PTSA, we have Catherine, and then Vadim as the alternate. And then Mountain View City Council meetings, we have Vadim and Theta as the alternate. And then Mountain View High School PTSA, we have Theta and then Alex as the alternate. And then the DLAC, we have Alex and Catherine. We decided not to have the assignment to the MVLA Climate Action Committee. And next we have the MVLA Family Partnership Council. So we have Vadim and Alex. For the MVLA High School Foundation, we have Esme and Catherine. For the MVLA Partnership Council, we have Theta and Catherine. For the MVLA PTA Council, we have me, the president, and then the alternate is Catherine. The MVLA Wellness Collaborative, we don't have a board assignment. The Santa Clara County Committee on District Reorganization, we agreed would be the board president, so ex officio, which is me. Theta, the Santa Clara County School Boards Association. We have Catherine and Esme. And then we have a new board assignment, LPO, the Latino Parents Organization, which is Esme, and Theta as the alternate. Does that list sound correct, everyone? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve them as we already agreed with ourselves.
Okay, second?
I second.
Okay. Motion by Catherine, seconded by Alex. Claire?
I approve.
Lucy?
I approve.
Board, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Next, we move on to 9.0, District Financing Corporation, and 9.1, our annual District Financing Corporation organizational meeting. The District Financing Corporation is a separate entity convened to approve and manage the issuance of district debts. In this case, certificates of participation for the construction of Alta Vista High School. So first we have a call to order. Present are all our trustees. Next, we have appointment of new officers. This is typically the same as the officers for the board.
I move that we adopt the same officers.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so moved by Catherine, seconded by Esme. Lucy,
I approve.
Claire,
I approve.
board, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll now open it up to public comment on the District Financing Corporation. You have a public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to other business. Does anyone have any other District Financing Corporation business? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn the District Financing Corporation organizational meeting?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Catherine. Can I have a second? Seconded by Esme. Okay, board on, I think you guys don't vote on this, but board all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll reconvene to our regular meeting and 10.0 communications and 10.1 board reports. Please raise your hand if you have a report. Okay, all right, so Catherine and Vadim, I will call on my VP first.
Thank you. So I attended the PTSA meeting at MVLA, and I think the main topic of the main agenda item was conversation with SRO officer James Guevara, who provided very interesting information that I didn't know I'd like to share. So there are 3 officers that the city of Mountain View assigns to all Mountain View schools, public and private, across elementary, middle, and high school. And their primary role, as they see it, is to really engage with the students and be there to help the students deal with whatever issues they want to bring up, or just be present and build that community relationship with the students. There are also various summer programs that the officer spoke about, which are quite popular. And there was a bit of discussion on e-bikes and e-bike safety and the classes, and some decision-making on the parents' side of purchasing bikes that go over 30 miles an hour. Just today, a bike overpassed me and I was doing 30. So anyway, another topic is we all attended, well, most of us attended CSBA conference. It was my first time being there in Sacramento. I found the AI session on how to use AI in schools the most interesting. The main topics was decision by CSBA to make AI an open policy rather than a closed policy, meaning that everything is allowed unless something is forbidden, right? So they are basically by default allowing the use of AI, and then there are some restrictions in place. And there were a few speakers, board members, as well as superintendent, who talked about the way that they've are implementing AI policy, because it's always an ongoing and learning process, and mainly taking it slow and thinking of the ways to implement it across both students learning as well as teacher use of AI for instructional materials, for grading policies, and they left us all with some interesting thoughts about what would be appropriate or not. But one thing was top of mind for everybody, and that is data privacy. So, for example, if a teacher or a student takes information discussed in class or a work provided and uploads to one of the public models, is that a violation of data privacy? Like things like that. Anyway, that was a quite interesting session.
Thank you, Vadim. Catherine?
Well, I also attended the conference for school boards associations, and I have to say, this is my 7th one, and or maybe my 8th, going into my 7th year. I mean, my 8th year. So this was the best one I've ever been to, frankly. The lectures were more engaging, in my opinion. The keynote speakers were more engaging in some cases, in my opinion. And one interesting session was on board policies. And I will bring that back to staff in terms of how other districts update theirs and so on, if we want to compare and make sure ours are up to date at all times. And then, as Vadim said, he went to one on AI, went to different ones on AI, and the keynote speaker on the last day, I think I'm the one in the board that was still there by the last day, and it was on AI also. Well, the one that I went to for the normal sessions was about using a voice model AI to analyze students' mental health and give a gauge of how they were in terms of approximately the graduate profile. Like if you use this, if you asked open-ended question and you had a student just talk, and you could determine, for instance, how resilient, if depending on the question and so on, you could determine how resilient the AI software could determine a score on resilience, a score on cognitive understanding, one on collaboration, and so on. And that really helped the staff know where students stood in terms of their interaction with each other and with staff, and how they were doing towards being an adult by the time they got out of high school, based on this graduate profile type. And so I hope that we can look into maybe doing something like that, and or talk to the school district, which is further north in the Bay, along the Bay, that has implemented this and has had good success for it. So I think that's great. Rather than a question where you answer yourself, how resilient do you feel? I feel like I'm a 5. And the software, though, might say, oh, you're only a 3. I mean, the AI say, well, that's a pretty resilient person. That's an 8. See what I'm saying? And the other AI was the keynote speaker on the last day, talked about AI use in the classroom and how it can be very helpful, but also it can be negative. But the human interface is important, and they go, oh, these jobs are going to go away. No, they aren't, because a person still has to judge the validity or appropriateness of certain things. And they gave examples in the classroom and how you would use AI in this way. And the example is, I hope I get his name right. Maybe you remember the guy during the Cold War, Asma? Was his name? You, social studies teacher, you should know this, that did not push the nuclear button in Russia when there was a false alarm. And they said the system failed. The software and or hardware system failed. But if he just followed his orders, you know, he would have pushed the button and he could have started a nuclear war when it was an accident. But he didn't because he's the human and he didn't think that made sense, so he didn't do it. So if you think about AI and the human interface to the answers AI tell you, that's the kind of thing it was talking about. And I think it was fascinating. And I think it lends a lot to what we should be thinking about and how we are teaching and how we're using students to use AI appropriately, but then the human has to make the final decision. And then the other thing I want to mention, other than the convention, is Challenge Team. Challenge Team's always interested. And the website's been down for a little while because of some technical issues, but the presentation would be eventually up on the website. It was on mental health, and there was and AI, 4 PhDs or doctors talking about this sort of thing with having to do with students and so on. It was very interesting and very informative to us adults that have to, and not have to, do help and interact with youth. Very informative. So you may want to see the slide set from those when they get posted on that website. That's all I have.
Thank you, Catherine. Does anyone else want to give a report before we go? No? Okay, so I attended DLAC. It was lightly attended, so more people should attend. But what was great is I saw the diversity of our English language learners. We had a Korean gentleman who attended. So we learned about the changes to Medi-Cal. If you don't know about them, you should know about them because they're going to be taking place by December 31st. So I don't want to go into all the technical details, but I did want to make that known to the community. Also, I also attended the CSBA conference, including the board president's workshop, as I mentioned. I focused on governance and attended some very informative workshops. I don't want to go into detail about those because I think, I hope the board will agree to a board retreat and I can go into all the technical, we can discuss all the technical details of governance. And I really, just on a personal note, I really enjoyed my alma mater, Davis High School's performance. We, of course, have a very high caliber music program, that's it, which my daughter participated in. And I wish all of our staff and students a relaxing winter break and hope you come back refreshed for the new semester. So next, we move on to 10.2. Student board member reports. Lucy.
Good evening, members of the board. I'd like to take a moment to share several recent events and initiatives that highlight student engagement, school spirit, and community impact on our campus. First, we recently hosted our holiday fair, where student clubs had the opportunity to sell food or other items. And this event not only brought energy and excitement to campus, but also allowed clubs to raise funds to support their programs while showcasing student creativity and entrepreneurship. We also held a series of Eagle Restore events aimed at helping students manage stress as we approach finals. These activities include farm animal petting, which provided a fun and calming experience, as well as New Year's resolution activities that encourage students to reflect on their goals and well-being. These events were well attended and greatly appreciated by students during a busy academic period. In addition, our most recent Blue Friday featured cookie decorating, giving students another opportunity to relax, connect with peers, and build school support in a positive and welcoming environment. Our school community also came together for the Second Harvest Food Drive, which concluded with tremendous success. We raised over $35,000, exceeding our original goal by $20,000. This achievement reflects the generosity and commitment of our students, families, and staff in supporting those in need. Finally, I'd like to note that finals exams will begin this Wednesday. We are proud of the efforts made by staff and student leadership to support students academically and emotionally as they prepare for this important time. Thank you for your continued support of our students and school community.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Lucy from Los Altos High School? Seeing none, let's move on to Claire from Mountain View High School.
Hello, MVLA board and community. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for being here today. Mountain View has had an exciting past month on campus, and we're looking forward to everything the second semester will bring. Beginning with student leadership, ASB and ambassadors hosted a joint Winter Wellness Spirit Week last week. Students were able to unwind during finals preparation through engaging spirit days and lunchtime activities. Favorite spirit days included the classic pajama day, as well as a new addition, Teacher versus Students, where staff dressed as students and students dressed as teachers. During lunch, students gathered in the main quad and gym to relax and create crafts together, such as snowflakes and ugly sweater-themed cookies. Overall, it was a highly participatory and spirited week that the MVHS community truly appreciated. Clubs and student groups have also been very active, hosting school-wide events and preparing for upcoming activities. One group that drew attention from a wide range of community members was Dance Spectrum, which hosted a two-part lunch and after-school showcase, featuring dances that reflected the many cultures represented at MVHS. The event provided an engaging and inclusive experience for all who attended. Looking ahead to 2026, MVHS is especially excited for January events, including the annual Winter Ball. This year's theme is Whiteout, and it will be hosted on campus from 7 to 10 p.m. The tickets go on sale for students on January 5th. Overall, it has been an exciting month for our campus, and we are eager for all that the new year has to offer. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Claire? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 10.3, our superintendent's report.
Okay, last meeting, I congratulated 4 teams that won CCS championships. There was 1 team pending. So tonight I would like to publicly congratulate the Los Altos girls tennis team for not only earning a CCS championship, but a California state championship. So pretty positive. And I too went to CSBA. I focused mainly on gubernatorial and superintendent candidate forums, as well as issues relating to community funded districts. There is a push to equalize school funding. And there was a report out of Stanford University, the Policy Center for Educational or for California Education, PACE, that talked about excessively funded districts and possible solutions to spread money around. And there was a session on that. It's this paper was also co-sponsored by Silicon Valley Education Foundation, and it's being led by a former board member in Palo Alto Unified. It just also, as a side note, found out that they're trying to organize the opposite end of the spectrum as underfunded districts. So they're trying to create a collaborative of those to gain speed coming into this next legislative session. And then also last week, I went to a superintendent's network hosted by UC Davis, and I got to hear from Davis Campbell. Dr. Campbell was CSBA executive director for 14 years and probably the expert in the state regarding governance and governance teams. And that was a great opportunity to hear from him. And now I'm going to cut it short. I'm going to wish everyone a happy vacation, and hopefully you celebrate the way that your families have been celebrating for a long time. And now I'll turn it over to the principals, starting with Los Altos High School and Dr. Ranieri. It's the boots.
Good evening. So a couple things, school highlights to note. Over the past few weeks, there have been a lot of events to celebrate the holiday season, to end our fall sports, and to celebrate our students' accomplishments in the arts. The Latino, Jewish, Filipino, Taiwanese, Indian, and Black student unions led a very successful warm coat drive for our school. And SCL, in partnership with the Los Altos Fire Department, is continuing their toy drive this week. The music program has been on stage with their winter performances, and our fine arts teachers held their semester art show in the student union, and there were incredible pieces of student art from every level of painting, photography, and drawing. There will be another one at the end of this semester coming up, and we would love to have you come see that work. The last item was given away a little bit already about our athletic achievements, but really our girls' teams were standouts this fall. We had overall 21 sports teams with 494 athletes, and our girls' teams, as I said, were standouts with girls' water polo, volleyball, golf, and cross country, all winning league championships. Our girls' volleyball coach, Peter Kim, was League Coach of the Year. Our field hockey team was a CCS Scholar Athlete team. 9 teams made CCS playoffs. 3 teams made NorCal. 2 teams went to state. And our girls' tennis team are California state champions this year. Yay! Regarding teaching and learning, our teachers presented sample lessons to their colleagues at our last staff meeting as a way to wrap up the first semester of professional learning. These presentations by our geometry, U.S. history, and Spanish 3 teachers allowed all staff to gain visibility into effective instructional practices across departments as we promote school-wide collaboration and consistent support for all of our students. Lucy shared that Jasper Ridge came with their animals, the bunnies, the chickens, the goat, a sheep, a pony. Very fun. And then finally, in terms of community engagement, Los Altos held our second site council meeting where we reviewed the most recent Student Accountability Report Card, or SARC. And we're very proud of our 24-25 state measures of achievement and are happy to highlight increased performance in English language arts by our Hispanic students and students with IEPs, as well as increased performance in math by our Hispanic students, students with IEPs, and under-resourced students as measured by the CASP assessment of our 11th grade students. And of our 140 students who are multilingual learners, we saw a 4% increase in progress towards English proficiency. Thank you.
Mountain View High School, Dr. Glazier.
Good evening. I'm going to be very brief. I wanted to celebrate our arts department that has participated in the Los Altos tree lighting ceremony. Our cheer and our band performed at the community event, and I know that our choir is getting ready to do their winter concert this Friday, and I would love you all to join our wonderful Miss Denny and then the choir program. Saturday, I participated in our Latino Parent Organization's annual Posada celebration. This year, we had the largest gathering of 174 participants, and our folklorico dancers, as well as the San Jose Aztec dancers, performed. And it was a great celebration. And I want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Morali, who has led that crew of several staff members, and also recognize our Meta student who was there from the planning phase to engaging our youngsters who are yet to be Spartans, but soon to be Spartans. And I also wanted to thank our PTSA that is working very hard to put together our upcoming staff luncheon, and which will be held this Thursday. And we're hoping that we can end this semester with celebration and appreciation for all of our hardworking staff as well as our teachers. And what am I forgetting? I think we have had a great first semester ending, and our counselors and teachers are working very hard so that our students can continue to be successful this first semester. Thank you.
Alta Vista and Alternative Programs, Ms. Wolfo.
Hi, everyone. Do you want to know what makes me jealous? middle college now. They're already on vacation. That's right. So they celebrated their last day for a little bit. They come back along with us in January. So that makes it 3 weeks. So that's wonderful. So I'll focus a little bit more quickly, but this is my biggest way to reach all these faces and talk to you about Alta Vista, which I know I love Los Altos. I know I love Mountain View, but Alta Vista, we have 81 students right now, and we serve 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and a lot of things have been happening. So I'll highlight two just in name of efficiency. But last Thursday of our students, we took a full busload to California Academy of Science. We try to plan reward trips that are not just rewards, but things that students wouldn't perhaps do in their own experience, right? That's part of like equaling where we all come from and our experiences and inspiring. And they did not want to leave the Cal Academy of Science. Let me tell you, which is so great to see. And it wasn't just because of the 1,600 plants and animals in the rainforest. Meanwhile, our students stayed behind. It was with intention, and we had advisors had contacted home, as had I, with the students. And actually, teacher-led made particular special schedules so that those students could get help right where they needed it in particular courses and even smaller groupings. So that was great. And then something we're highlighting this week is all of our students, thanks so much to our Mountain View counterparts and the lovely Christmas trees that they are selling. Any students at Alta Vista that were in need for their holidays and requested a tree, it was delivered, and which is so beautiful. And this Wednesday, we have something that is called Santa's Workshop. We're working with city teams, which is now called Elevate. It's coming to Mountain View, and every single student is going to be able to receive and have wrapped, help them wrap 4 gifts, up to 4 gifts for their siblings, aunties, grandparents, mom, whoever they choose, so that that can be part of their holiday.
Adult education, Ms. Vo.
Good evening. Winter is always a wonderful time at MVLA Adult School. So this past week, the Mountain View Senior Orchestra performed their annual winter conference at the Mountain View Senior Center. And this orchestra has students ranging from age 55 to 90 plus. And it's always just really inspiring to watch them play. We have Santa coming to visit the children's, the Child Care Center tomorrow. We also recently held our staff appreciation holiday potluck. This is where myself and the leadership team, we cook all the dishes and the desserts, and we serve all of our 100 teachers and staff. What I'm currently proud of are the current outcomes for our EDD ELL grant from the state. That was the grant that awarded us $1.9 million over 3 years to create the accelerated healthcare pathways for English language learners who face multiple language, cultural, and socioeconomic barriers. I'm proud to report, because we do end of the year reporting, that we have exceeded our target goals for enrollment by 40%, serving 126 students to date. We have also exceeded our overall IET completion goals with our current completion rate of 89%. And this is for students with multiple barriers. And because this grant will end in December of 2026, I am looking to the future on how to sustain this high quality program. So currently, what am I working on? This past week, I've been working on an application for a new grant offered by EDD, by the state. It's offering $16.3 million available for funding statewide. Estimated individual awards will range anywhere from $500,000 to $2 million. This Employment and Training Pathways Program grant will be awarded to develop and implement projects that accelerate pathways to employment for populations facing significant barriers who we serve. And one of the ideas is to expand our medical assistant program to the evening as well as expanding our optical program to offer longer 100-hour externships, as well as creating a bridge to a licensed vocational nursing program and be a part of the creation of the program. I'm looking to the future of opportunity, access, and success that I would hope for all of our MVLA adult school students. We are currently exploring new partnership opportunities, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of the outcome from this grant when I hear back from them after the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, so now DTA and CSCA can speak. And I believe we have Dave Campbell, our president of our DTA.
So I have to warn the teachers here, the backside of this sign is for fire drills and disaster drills. Don't follow me. Okay? All right. Good evening. Thank you for giving me time and space to speak tonight. I'm here this evening in response to a request that was made of the social studies teachers by the trustees, come up with a course to offer during the other semester of freshman year. The department collaborated and shared many ideas, but the concern kept coming back to the competition and lack of a common ninth grade experience. That would be created if there were 2 or 3 proposals that were dependent upon teacher passions. A course should not rely on an individual teacher's personal passion to be viable. It should exist because it reflects the interests and, even more critically, the needs of our community. Because this decision has far-reaching implications beyond the responsibilities of individual teachers or department coordinators, I am here as president of the District Teachers Association and at the request of both our representative council and the Social Studies Department to present their proposal and represent the interests of the association. We recommend pairing the 1-semester ethnic studies course with a required 1-semester world studies course in 9th grade. Under this structure, all freshmen will complete 1 semester of ethnic studies and 1 semester of world studies, providing a cohesive, year-long social studies experience that supports heterogeneous grouping and consistent skill development. In practical terms, the main adjustment is moving the 1st semester of world studies from early sophomore year to the now open 2nd semester of the freshman year and making it a requirement. This course could be offered during either semester during freshman year, and each group of students could either move from ethnic studies directly into world studies with the same teacher, or else the group could change teachers depending on how each comprehensive site chooses to staff. This allows for multiple possibilities. 1, teachers may specialize in either world studies or ethnic studies. Number 2, teachers stay with the same class of students both semesters. This model would be beneficial for our special education students who are in co-taught classes. Their team could stay together, ensuring the best consistent educational experience for our students with special needs. For our ELD students, offering World Studies 1 and 2 as independent semester courses increases access and flexibility. This structure gives students more time to grow in their language development between the 2 courses, whether they progress from freshman to sophomore year or enter our district at a later time. The 2nd semester of World Studies will remain in 10th grade for students who do not opt for an AP course. I want to stress that this proposal would not force students into taking an extra 5 credits of social studies. This proposal encourages student choice to take the class that piques their interest. This design also allows for flexible scheduling alongside in-seat health and supports continued student access to the full in-person health program, which is so important to our district. I'd like to walk through the slides that Mr. Morris is so kind to hold for me. This is the current sequence of 40, where we have 2 ethnic studies courses, and then goes to world study for a year, US history, then civics and econ. And then I feel so clever. Look at this. You just take one clip off and right. It's like I've done it before, but I haven't. The current proposed sequence of 35 credits left us with a vacancy here. And this full year of heterogeneous freshman year experience, which is what our teachers were clamoring for, is not offered. Full year of social studies skill development, also not offered. And the social studies FTE is not protected, which is why I'm here as the union president. So smooth. My mom always said, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. All right. The current, so with this gap, there are no common aligned instruction in 20th century topics such as the Holocaust, history of Latin America, World War II. Enrollment instability, departments would be annually competing for electives, and that would put the FTE in fluctuation annually. You would know whether you would have to put teachers on a RIF or a PKS Every year you'd have to determine that, and we'd have to go through this very expensive process, which would cost a lot of money and a lot of attorney hours. Oh. Good. All right. The new proposal, making world history, mandatory freshman year aligned with ethnic studies, gives us a full heterogeneous freshman year experience, a full year of social studies skill development, and it protects the social studies FTE. This would still allow an open semester here to take in-seat help, which is so important. This also allows for aligned education in the Holocaust, Russian Revolution, World War II history, or history of Latin America, and other topics for all students. Ninth grade is the optimal year for bridging skill gaps and giving all students future access to advanced course offerings, and outweighs the 10th grade semester gap concerns that might occur. This open semester offered increased opportunities for enrollment in in-seat health, opportunities for students to challenge themselves through enrollment in full-year AP Social Studies offerings in 10th grade, addresses concerns about age gap that were raised by some Los Altos parents in previous board meetings, because all students would receive 20th century world history instruction in 9th grade, and offers opportunities for future elective development if that is a wish of the trustees. And departments are currently staffed for this model as a result of decades of precedence. We used to have CWI in that spot, and then it was paired naturally with health at that time. And students would take a full year of world history in freshman year. The only change to this model, of course, this would be substituted with ethnic studies. Thank you, Mr. Morse. I would like to address some parent concerns that we have heard at the board meetings over the past 6 months. Many came to call for the reinstatement of world studies as a freshman requirement. This proposal does that while honoring the trustees' decision to maintain ethnic studies as a semester requirement. Many called for more robust covering of the Holocaust. This proposal provides ample coverage of the Holocaust, Latin American history, and World War II. This model guarantees that all freshmen build a strong, consistent foundation in the skills required for college prep and AP coursework beyond 9th grade. It also creates greater stability for students and departments by establishing clear, reliable course pathways rather than depending on variable elective enrollment. At LAHS, students who would like to take HGAP will continue to access important content such as Latin American history, the Holocaust, and World War II during their freshman year. Adopting this sequencing aligns with community feedback requesting a robust and globally focused freshman experience. It restores a decades-long MVLA model that successfully supported a 35-credit social studies requirement, which I assume is going to be approved tonight. Mountain View High School, I'd like to add, had a 99% graduation rate last year by students who experienced this model. It provides elective flexibility for students to take in-seat health sophomore year, returning to past practice. It preserves a full year freshman social studies experience, ensuring strong preparation for future coursework in 10th grade and beyond. This is the optimal way to maximize access to MVLA's rigorous social studies curriculum for all students. It reduces ethnic studies to one semester in a way that minimizes disruption for students and prepares them for more rigorous coursework in their sophomore year and beyond. Thank you for your time.
Carol, CSCA, Carol from CSCA. Thank you.
Thank you, board and members of the audience. I feel just slightly outnumbered up here as I look around. Tonight, we just had our last CSCA meeting for the year. We opened up Alta Vista, but it just didn't work out. But thank you to Kip and to Marty and to John for working with us to open up the Mountain View High School dining hall so that we could have our meeting there. We had amazing attendance tonight. We had 5 guest speakers, or five people, guest speakers. 3 were our area people and our labor rep who's here tonight also, and our regional president came to our last meeting of the year. And we had food, so that attracted a lot of people. We had the highest attendance of any of our meetings this year. But I just want to thank the board for their support for CSCA, and I want to thank the high schools and Alta Vista for their support for our CSCA members. And we're couple months ago, I talked about the MUP program, the Membership Unity Program. We are actively starting that program. Tonight was one of our first meetings, and we're looking forward to have a bingo night. We talked just briefly with Dave Campbell about getting together with DTA to have a joint DTA CSEA some kind of social get together. And just for the record, this is not an ugly sweater. It's a vintage sweatshirt. Thank you.
Okay.
Ida, may I ask a question at this point? Would it make sense for us to allow students of the month to move up in case the student board members need to leave a bit earlier tonight? And it seems like we have a lot of public comment.
We'd have to re-vote on the agenda.
That's what I'm saying.
Do people want to re-vote on the agenda?
I move that we vote at this time to adjust the agenda as I stated.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Do you have a comment? Okay.
Yes, maybe we should do this permanently. Let's take an action item. I mean, it's a valid ask, but from time to time when we have a lot of attendees or a lot of public speaking, we go through this exercise, so. Don't have to do it right now. I don't know what the procedure is, but to avoid repeating
I
this.
think let's keep communications in general. It's fine. We don't have students of the month every meeting.
I see.
So in this particular case where we have a lot of speakers, I think keeping the communications together for the orderly operations of a board meeting probably would be something that I would propose we do. And when these circumstances present themselves, then we change the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to make it clear that your motion is to move the students of the month ahead of public comment, not on the agenda. And that's the only change you want to make to the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have a second. So it was moved by Catherine, was seconded by Alex. So board, all in favor? Okay.
If you want to let students.
Sure. Claire, how do you vote?
I approve.
I approve.
Okay. All right, so we will then move on to students of the month. And Claire, you're up.
Mountain View High School proudly recognizes Ruby Rivas Menjivar as the December Student of the Month, celebrating her leadership, dedication, and consistent commitment to every community she serves. Her leadership began the moment she arrived on campus. As a freshman, she supported students and staff faculty and even helped incoming freshmen by shadowing an 8th grader to help ease the transition to high school. During the summers of 2024 and 2025, she volunteered in the administration office, preparing summer mailing and assisting with organizational projects within the building. She also served as a pod leader for the class of 2029. Her initiative reflects a strong sense of responsibility and a genuine desire to contribute. Ruby is a first-year ambassador who has embraced the community and taken on meaningful service projects. She leads Spartan Paws activities and is also part of the MV Cares committee by restocking the treasure closet and helping organize the annual gift basket drive. She also creates social media posts to encourage students participating in school activities. Her efforts help strengthen a positive and inclusive school culture. Not only is Ruby a leader, but she also takes time to celebrate each community she belongs to. Some of her favorite MVHS memories include attending the school plays, dance performances, graduations, and football games, where she enjoys cheering on friends. Outside of school, she values time with family and friends and enjoys activities such as going out to eat with loved ones, shopping, walking in nearby cities, watching movies, and coloring. Ruby is also a dedicated avid scholar. The program has helped her clarify her academic goals and reinforce the importance of WICOR, which is writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading, which she plans to carry into her university studies. After she graduates, she plans to attend a California university and pursue neuroscience or a related major. Ruby Rivas Menjivar's leadership, spirit, and dedication makes her the outstanding choice for Mountain View High School's December 2025 Student of the Month Award. Thank you.
Do you have anything you would like to say?
I would like to thank all of the teachers who supported me and encouraged me to join these classes and programs. And I would also like to thank my friends and my parents who also pushed me and were my biggest supporters and were always there for me when I was like unsure of things.
Ruby, thank you very much. You're a model to all students. Thank you very much. Do you have any family present?
I have my dad present.
Lucy.
It's my honor today to introduce our Student of the Month, Oshea Orozco, a remarkable student whose leadership, character, and academic dedication exemplify the values of Los Altos High School. Oshea challenges herself with rigorous AP coursework, including AP Human Geography and AP Biology. Her commitment to academic growth has earned her place on the honor roll for 3 consecutive years, from 2023 through 2025. Beyond the classroom, she is deeply involved in our school community. She is a proud member of the AVID program, a selective college readiness program designed to support first-generation college-bound students. Through AVID, she participates in college-focused field trips, study sessions, and peer tutoring, always bringing positivity and initiative to the group. One of the areas where she truly shines is in leadership. She serves as the president of the Black Student Union, where she leads weekly meetings, organizes events and fundraisers, and helps foster an inclusive and supportive environment for her students. Her ability to coordinate, communicate, and uplift those around her makes her a standout leader on campus. Athletics are another place where Oshea's dedication is evident. She is a member of both the varsity track and field team, where she earned MVP recognition, and the varsity flag football team, where she also serves as team captain. Coaches describe her as a strong communicator and a unifying presence on and off the field. She also expands her impact through service. She has experienced babysitting, demonstrating responsibility and care, and she currently volunteers on the Eagle Sports Medicine team, assisting our athletic trainer with first aid, equipment setup, and supporting athletes and coaches. On top of her accomplishments, she brings valuable skills, including conversational Spanish, teamwork, and a willingness to take initiative in every space she enters. In every way, academically, athletically, and personally, Oshea represents what it means to be a dedicated, community-minded student. Her commitment to growth, leadership, and service makes her an outstanding choice for Student of the Month. Please join me in recognizing and celebrating her.
O'Shea, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I just wanted to thank my parents who are here with me tonight for like making everything possible, taking me to school practices, motivating me and just like and motivating me to stay on top of my grades. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you, O'Shea. What a well-rounded student you are. Do you have any family present? Okay, so now we'll move back to public comments not on the agenda. And what I'll do, since we have a number of comments, is I'll read one name and then I'll read the next name that's coming up. So if you could please, if your name is being called, if you could be ready to make a comment. Thank you. So our very first speaker is Jill Denny. Next, we have Kevin Hyken.
Hi, my name is Jill, and this is my 39th year teaching. And 29 of those years have been here at MVLA, and I've stayed here all that time because of the MVLA way. I know that some of you shy away from that phrase, and some say it like it's a bad thing. But I am so proud of this district and what we do here. To me, the MVLA way represents the essence of this district, taking care of each other as we work together to do the absolute best we can for our students. Each member of this district plays a vital role, and we are only successful as a collective if every teacher, administrator, classified staff, and board member are successful. I'm grateful for the support that I have received from the board members and the administration, both at the district and the school sites. When you come to our concerts or when you greet me, when we come across each other in town, I feel connected to you. And when I'm brainstorming with a teacher on how we can help a student, I feel connected to them. And when the custodian buys me a special dust mop that slides under the risers in my classroom to make it cleaner for students, I feel connected to them. And I feel comfortable talking to all of you one-on-one because I know we are working towards the same goal, taking care of our students. That's why I'm speaking tonight, because I want everyone in this district to know that you matter. And what happens to one person or one department affects all of us, because every voice really does count. The people we bring to this district are so much more than their credentials. To become a successful permanent teacher at MVLA, you have to give your heart. And in turn, we give you our undying support so that together we can find positive solutions for every child's challenge. If we were to activate a system that enables the removal of teachers from the district, we will undermine the trust that makes it possible for us all to come to work each day feeling secure and ready to do our absolute best for our kids. Every single teacher will be impacted, not just the one getting the pink slip. The damage will be done to more than 4 decades of building trust as a collective, trust that we invest in teachers for the good of our students. I am willing to do whatever is needed to find a solution that supports teachers so we can keep our focus on taking care of the students. We are so lucky in this district, and we have the resources to give us time to do the right thing. I know there is a way to restructure to be fiscally responsible, and to still find positive solutions and remain invested in each person. This is the MVLA way, finding positive solutions that support us all as we keep students at the forefront of what we do. A faculty of teachers who feel secure, connected, and loved, who can put their energy into our students.
Okay, next up we have Kevin Heitken, and after that we have Nate Bowen. And if I could just respectfully remind you to please try to keep to the 3-minute time limit, since we do have a lot of speakers. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Heiken. I wear a lot of hats in this district. I'm the first vice president of the DTA Teachers Association. I'm a member of the history department for about 15 years now, and I'm the MVHS faculty advisor for the Jewish Student Union, where I helped coordinate MVH's response to the October 7th attacks, which was robust. And tonight I'm here to say that MVLA Social Studies stands united against anti-Semitism, but is requesting the board's support in strengthening our instruction with regards to this very important topic. In 2023, when the transition happened from year-long world studies to year-long ethnic studies, we lost something. We lost a shared historical understanding, a common knowledge of the Holocaust and the history of anti-Semitism that led to it. I will fully say this was not a loss that was quickly and immediately apparent to me, but that very same year, on October 7th, the deadliest day happened for Jewish people since the Holocaust, and there was a global surge in anti-Semitism that was most present oftentimes in the spaces our students existed in schools, in universities, on social media. It wasn't a distant and abstract concept. It was something that was present in our communities. Just like a list of incidents in our own district, our own community. December of 2023, Block Intermediate School, swastikas painted on lockers. September of 2024, swastikas and anti-Semitic graffiti at Mountain View High School. February of 2025, investigation into anti-Semitic Los Altos Nazi Party Instagram account that utilized the Los Altos High School logo. And even recently, at a school in San Jose, we had students on the field making a human swastika. At this moment in time, when anti-Semitism is at its most intense, our students no longer have the shared foundation, the shared knowledge, the shared set of facts to actually address it, to recognize it, to stand up to it. Tonight, I'm asking the board support the Social Studies Department in doing this by restoring a semester of freshman world studies at the freshman year to pair with ethnic studies. This is the only viable option. While at the 10th grade level, world history is a pillar of our instruction, students take very different classes. And it's not just an AP Human Geography issue. I know people have sometimes called that out. That's not the problem. The issue is that there are 4 different classes. Even AP European History and AP World History deal with this topic very differently. They're bound by AP frameworks that demand breakneck pacing and not the amount of depth the topic deserves. Restoring this common 9th grade foundation will give our students the tools to recognize and combat anti-Semitism. Will it make anti-Semitism disappear from the world? Obviously not, but we need our students to be armed to be upstanders, and having this shared experience, having these shared sets of facts, having this shared knowledge base is the only way to do that. And that's what the DTA is proposing tonight through our social studies sequence, and I very much hope the board accepts it. Thank you, and have a good day.
After Nate Bowen, we have Roger Kim.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nate Bowen. I'm the Social Studies Department Coordinator at Mountain View High School. I'd first like to thank our DTA President, Dave Campbell, for stepping in and presenting to you tonight. And I'd like to really give a shout out to all the other teachers who came out here to support, especially the people in the back in the hallway. I love that. Got people in the hallway sitting on the ground here for us. So it means a lot to us. So about 2.5 months ago, I was up here presenting to you guys about the various, permutations of what could happen to social studies, with changes happening to ethnic studies. And at the very end of my presentation, I think it was Claire asked, what do you want? Like, what do you prefer? And it was a really great question. I had to pause for a while and think about it. And I think my answer was the least disruptive change, because, what came to my mind was how great my department is and how incredible the instruction is and the job we do. And I don't want to see it diminished. People come up to me and they've been like, is your job okay? And I'm like, of course I'm fine. I'm up the line, and I believe people when they say we'll find positions for social studies teachers, but it's still going to be massively disruptive. And I don't want to be the guy in charge of the department that sees it cut down. Like, it's just such a great department. So the proposal we have here, the proposal that Dave presented to you, I really hope you guys give it a good consideration, really think it through, ask questions about what it's all about. It's basically returning the course sequence to decades of past practice, and it's going to help bring my department much needed stability and a sense of normalcy. And most important, this is the number one thing, we really believe it's student-centered. In maintaining that freshman year course, that year-long course is going to give critical thinking skills, writing practice, practice with academic language, and all the great content that Kevin just told you guys about. Such important, essential content. When I went to my department, I asked them, what do you guys think about this? I had 100% of my department behind it. And I think almost nearly 100% at Los Altos. You guys work with teachers. You know how hard it is to get teachers to agree on anything. Like, it is not easy. We have hard heads. We got big ideas. Just talking about like what goes into this rubric can be difficult. But something as important as a department course and sequence, 100% buy-in. And that should tell you something about, I think, how vital this proposal is. So again, I want to thank the DTA, I want to thank Dave, I want to thank my department, and I want to thank you guys, hopefully for the close consideration that you're going to give this proposal. Good evening.
Great. Next, we have Roger Kim. Then after that, we have Pancho Morris.
Good evening. My name is Roger Kim, and I'm a social studies teacher at Los Altos High School. To say the last few months have been a bumpy roller coaster ride for department members at both sides would be an understatement. But the board has an opportunity to make for a smooth landing. The vast majority of social studies teachers in this district, along with the vast majority of DTA's representative council, endorsed the proposal to continue the rigorous course of study that our community expects while preserving the jobs of our highly qualified teachers. This in turn makes for the smoothest transition for our students, and isn't that who we are all here for in the first place? You've heard from many social studies teachers these past few months about how valuable it is having heterogeneous classes with all freshmen for an entire year, which allows us to teach the skills necessary for them to succeed in the future. This includes historical and critical thinking skills, social studies, reading and writing, and becoming informed citizens of our world who have empathy for others and contribute positively to society. One semester cut short our work and electives do not guarantee that we can continue this work with the same students. Only by requiring a full year of social studies without tracking can we ensure that freshmen are prepared to take our classes in the future. In the last decade, enrollment in social studies AP classes sophomore year has more than tripled, and there's also been similar increases in junior and senior year AP classes. Our proposal also addresses many concerns brought up by members of the community of not having enough history courses. So we would be able to do a comprehensive study of the Holocaust, perhaps look at Latin American studies and the role that colonialism played in what society looks like today. Perhaps most importantly is that 2 semesters of world studies that we have proposed are already developed. We could make most of the curriculum from our previous world studies and CWI courses and run them without thousands of hours of extra work put on the teachers who already have to reduce on concentrating, who have to concentrate on reducing ethnic studies to 1 semester. Tired and burned out teachers makes for low quality instruction, and that is not good for our students. And while the plan is not perfect, no plan is, it does preserve many more jobs than offering electives would. Losing any of our highly qualified teachers would be detrimental to our students, and the threat of rifts has already had a chilling effect on teacher morale in every single department throughout this district. Low teacher morale also makes for low quality instruction. I urge the board to seriously consider our proposal. It preserves heterogeneous instruction for a full year, preserves our jobs of our colleagues, and addresses the concerns of our community. All of these things are good for our students. It puts students first. After all, everyone in this room is here for just that. I want to close by saying I'm so proud to stand up here backed up by my DTA colleagues. This is just the beginning. We will continue to stand up and fight for what is best for our students. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Pancho Morris. Then we have Krista Gretzaw.
All right, members of the board, Sorry. Superintendent Volta, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. Huh? Do you need it? Do I need it? All right. My name's Pancho Morris. I teach drama at Mountain View High School, and I'm a proud alumni of the class of 2006. Yeah. My family has lived and worked in this community for generations. I'm talking Old Mountain View, and our mascot was the Eagles, and Los Altos and Alta Vista were just a fancy way of saying we fly high. The MVLA way, right? Yeah. As you know, what's happening in our community, it sparked a lot of turkey talk. And as I've been speaking to my family about these issues, all of them with children or grandchildren in this district, all of them fiscally responsible taxpayers in this district, teachers and tech workers, firemen, Democrats, Republicans, independents, who, yeah, often complain about their property taxes. But the number one thing they say about their property taxes is, thank God for our schools. They know they're getting the best teachers, the best administrators, the best trustees, the best students, the best outcomes. And that's backed by the data. They share the concern, like many of us, that our democracy is fragile right now. They want to ensure that their kids receive a social sciences education commensurate with a first world democracy. Also, they expect that the taxes they pay today will help their kids today. As a teacher and parent in this district, I agree with them. I told them about this new plan on the phone crazily today. I was like, oh, you guys got to hear about the new plan. You want to hear the update? I'm proud to say that that plan was put forward by the social scientists in our district. And make no mistake, these cats are scientists. They're not bleeding heart reactionaries trying to save their skins. They're genuine pragmatists offering positive solutions. Okay, my tax-paying family members loved the plan. They were like, that sounds great. It sounds like everyone's going to be happy and get along again, because it addresses some of the criticisms of the previous iteration, but it sells no one short. Not the teachers, not the students, not our democracy. They don't want the cuts. They don't want the riffraff. They like what's in this plan. It's flexible for our students, but still sets them up for success. It allows our multilingual learners to engage in curriculum more effectively as they increase their own proficiency in English. It's a tested model. 99% of the class of 2025 graduated under this model. It's a model I graduated in 2006, and believe me, a lot of my social science teachers are back here who knew me. I needed their education. I needed this. And so do our students. I just want to close by saying, Superintendent Volta, you gave this amazing speech on your first day where you talked about a starfish on the beach, and you were like, yeah, there was this kid, he's on the beach, he's throwing starfish, and this guy comes up and is like, hey, you're never going to make a difference. Look at all the starfish that the storm washed up. And you were like, told us a story about how the kid picked up the starfish, threw it back into the ocean, was like, it made a difference for that one. Y'all got a starfish in your hands. It's called 4 FTE Social Sciences. It's called literacy for our students.
Okay,
for my
sorry.
child. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, next we have Krista Gretzer, and after that we have Rick Margin Hendricks.
Hello, my name's Krista Grexak. I've been teaching Latin at Los Altos High School since 2007, and I started also teaching social studies in 2020. So I'm just here to speak in support of the proposal put forth by DTA and the social studies departments for several reasons. First, teaching freshmen, when you talk to freshmen every day and you read the things that freshmen write, you can tell that freshmen really need to work on their skills, their academic skills, their writing skills, their critical thinking skills, and having a full year of social studies education as freshmen is critical for that. Further, I know that the community has been calling for a more robust history curriculum. This solves that problem. I discovered somewhat recently that many of my freshmen have had zero instruction on the Holocaust. Several of them told me that they didn't know what it was at all and were giggling while they told me. This is proof to me that we need a class that all students take that's common for everyone, where we can present them the curriculum and the background on this like critical period of history so that we can have a strong democracy going forward. Further, I think the common experience across the year for all freshmen is also super important socially for them to get to know their classmates and to build strong bonds, especially a heterogeneous classroom where students aren't separated by skill level or being tracked in different ways, where they can be engaged with students from all different backgrounds. And lastly, well, actually two things. So the fact that this was the practice for so long, since I started teaching at Los Altos in 2007, like we heard, this was basically the pathway until ethnic studies became a full year course. So it's proven, we have the curriculum, we have A through G approval. All of those things are important. And lastly, I'm in sort of a unique position being in two different departments, the social studies department and the world language department. So I get to work with an even like bigger pool of teachers than a lot of other teachers do here at MVLA. And I just want to say that my colleagues are brilliant. They care about their students. They want they want the best for the students, and they want the community to be stronger and smarter and more capable. And I think this proposal is the best way for us to achieve that. Thank you.
Next, we have Brooke Modron Index, and after that, we have Blanca Valencia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke Mangan Hinckley, social studies teacher at Mountain View High School. Thanks for letting us present here today. I just wanted to issue my full support for the proposal that you have at hand. I've been teaching 9th graders and 10th graders for 20 years at this district. I've seen the impact firsthand of being able to have freshmen have a full year of history. It's a critical time. Vadim, you said last time if something was important, it should be something that all the kids take. And we've got this amazing opportunity to teach kids the freshman year, the things that we choose with absolute intent. This is an opportunity for us to take the best of ethnic studies, to take the issues that we think are absolutely critical that several of my colleagues have brought up before, and for us to set students up for success. The freshman year is absolutely going to inform everything that they do, right, every year afterwards. If they have a full year of history and ethnic studies the freshman year, they'll be able to be more successful with every single class they take. And it still builds in student choice, which is something that I know is also very valued. So thank you for considering this. And the social studies teachers can't wait to give you an amazing freshman course. Thank you.
Next, we have Blanca Valencia, and then we have Lizzie Pyle.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Blanca Valencia. I'm a mother of multilingual student at Mountain View High School, first generation, and my kids were taking ELD and all those classes. And my daughter took EGNI status the first year. And she says that because of EGNI status, being such a course, they give her so much confidence. Now she's taking AP classes. And she says it's because I explained to her, they said they didn't have a book or curriculum. She said it's an open debate class, and you learn so much, and you learn so many different variations on people, and you learn to respect others, and others learn to respect you. So everybody kind of melt together for the better of the community. My daughter said taking an EGNI studies and going to war studies really help her to be better prepared. I just think I invite everybody to consider that students should have the opportunity to take a whole year ethnic studies if they feel like it, because my daughter said it was very beneficial to her as a multilingual student. And like I said, now she's taking AP classes and she's doing really well. She's a 4 point a student. So I want everybody to consider that, and also I want appreciate our social study teachers for the comments that were behind, like the comments that they were on the last meeting. A lot of people were attacking them, like if they have all the solutions on the world, if they were responsible for every single person that wouldn't agree and what the curriculum should be. I think we are in an open space that we can express ourselves. We can express ourselves with respect and love each other. And everybody's doing it for the better of the community. Thank you. Have a good night.
Next, you have Lizzie Pyle.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Board of Trustees, Mr. Volta. My name is Lizzie Pyle. I'm a fourth-year teacher at Los Altos High School. I'm also a Los Altos High School DTA site rep. Yay, DTA. I'm here to speak in really strong support of our social studies course sequencing proposal, which is endorsed by literally almost entirely unanimously our social studies department and our DTA board, which is fantastic. We, MVLA, are the #1 district in the Bay Area. Being #1 means excellent staff that we should retain, excellent students, and exceptional opportunities. We do not sell our students short. This proposal maintains the academic integrity of our district while improving the equity of our students' education. This proposal allows for a universal freshman social studies experience. I cannot state the importance enough of a heterogeneous classes for freshmen. It is so incredibly important. Being able to meet and engage with students you may not have otherwise met is such an incredibly valuable and essential part of the high school experience. It builds empathy and it expands our students' mindsets. As a science teacher, specifically a non-honors chemistry teacher, I have taught a lot of sophomores over the last couple years, and a lot of them have taken health online, and they've made it very clear to me that that is not a sufficient alternative. This social studies proposal allows for a clear semester gap sophomore year for students to take in-seat health if they so do choose. Health is a vital course to inform many crucial decisions our students will make about their lives and their bodies. It's arguably one of the most important courses our students will take. This proposal also provides students with key factual information about the Holocaust as freshmen, which is a very formative year for students. On a personal note, I was a victim of an anti-Semitic hate crime while I was in high school, which took place on my high school's campus. A fellow student who clearly did not understand the real implications of the Holocaust drew swastikas all over my ASB president campaign posters. 9 years later, it still very much frustrates and upsets me. The lack of understanding and the lasting impacts of the Holocaust is a major issue in our society. I'm very excited that this proposal gives students the opportunity to learn about the Holocaust in a factual and safe environment where they can ask questions and expand their understanding of history, factual history. We must learn about our past to prevent repeating it, and approving this proposal is proactively preventing future MVLA students from enduring an experience similar to mine. In a digital world, universal experiences and empathy are in short supply. For me as an educator at Los Altos High School, this proposal is a no-brainer. Thank you for considering.
Okay, next we move on to 12.0, presentations, reports, and information. So first up, we have 12.1, which is an information only, which is an update on the Los Santos High. Oh, I'll wait for everyone to leave.
Good luck.
Good luck, students.
Good luck on final.
Go for it. There's some more of them.
Okay, so mic is up. Would you like questions during the presentation or held until the end?
How about after, I think, we'll go through the slides
Okay,
and then.
great. All right.
Direction
Okay,
for questions after. Okay. Well, thank you. Sorry, I want to make sure Mary Safari and Eddie Van Sandberg from Cumming Group and QK had a chance to take a seat as the boardroom cleared out. So good evening. We last came to talk about the gym projects on May 19th. Since that time, we've been hard at work designing, planning, submitting to the Division of State Architect or DSA, and wanted to come back to the board to give an update specifically on the Los Altos gym. The process, the project, the design changes, and some necessary added scope. So with that, I'll jump in. For context and to help all our memories, this was a slide we presented back on May 19th. To help you put it in context, we were actually over in Alta Vista that night. If you need to think back to what we're discussing that night. And what you have this slide is items 1 through 5 was the original scope of the Los Altos gym per the facility master plan. Facility master plan was created, I think, before any current board member, superintendent were here. That was pre-2018 because that led into the Measure E bond. We had proposed some additional scope at that time, items 6 through 10, with the estimated project budget. You can see that on the right of $13.5 million. That was if you did items 1 through 10. We also presented Mountain View. We're not talking as much about Mountain View tonight. At that time, the board gave direction to just go with the original scope for that work. So with that direction, we set about with the design team and construction management and input from the school staff to, okay, let's design to that scope items 1 through 5. You have here including bleacher replacement. We crossed out additions. One of the goals was, could we fit the entire student body in the gym if we added bleachers on the north and south ends of the gym? And even when doing so, we couldn't fit 2,200 students bleacher capacity. So since we couldn't fit everyone, we decided there was little value in adding bleachers on the north and south ends. That's behind both main backboards. So that's why you see the additions part struck out. But we did strive to try and increase capacity what we could. So current capacity, and they're the old wood bleachers. There's no aisles, there's no handrails, there's no seating for wheelchair accessibility. There's 1,030 students. And we've been designing for new bleachers, which are fully compliant, have handrails safely as you can climb up, as well as seats down front for wheelchairs, a capacity of 1,212. Understand that that's more, although if you've ever been to a high school gym where it's just a flat wood bench, you can squeeze quite a few students into that bench, probably more than the listed capacity. So we move forward with that. In the design, after the meeting on May 19th, though, we quickly heard feedback because I think there was a parent event. It might have been Senior Awards or some other event in late May that, man, that audiovisual system in that gym is horrible. Please replace it. I know even Mr. Volta, I think, was in attendance and could concur with that sentiment. So that was a priority to say, if you do nothing else, please upgrade the audiovisual system. So that was something we added with the architects in a way that it could be bid as a separate price, and we could add it at that time, but we wanted to include it in the designs if the board wanted to include that in the project on bid day. We were also curious about the floor, right? The floor is pretty old. There is a crawl space underneath it, so you can actually go down there. Our facilities coordinator did and took some pictures to investigate the floor. We actually had a floor forensics person come out and evaluate the age of the floor, how long it would last. And although he wouldn't give us an exact date, he knew we were going to go through a modernization project and said, this floor will last you until the next modernization you do with the gym, essentially saying it'll get you through another couple of years, but after that, you should really replace it. So with that, we added that to the scope to say, hey, let's include it in the plans, and then we can price it out. And if we don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. While we were designing, though, that additional floor work and understanding the bleacher requirement, some additional scope came up that's required due to the addition. So if you think about the bleachers as they are now, there are a certain number of rows and they pull out to the edge of the basketball court. Well, with new bleachers, with aisles and accessible seats up front, you actually need more rows. So they go up higher on the wall when they're fully recessed and pulled back. So you got to have more wall height. And then when they come out, they extend out farther. So actually they fit 1,212 individuals. This would be for assembly or presentation style. For basketball games, volleyball games, you'd only pull out a certain number of rows to make sure the floor and the court is clear. But if you want to have a rally or an assembly, a parent meeting, you would actually extend the bleachers actually out onto the court a little bit, but you could still have large gatherings in there to get 1,200 people. Looking at that, though, a couple things happened. So the weight of the bleachers and additional people created some improving the subfloor structure. So shoring up the foundation and all the support beams underneath the floor. So which requires pulling off the floor to access that. So in expanding the bleachers, it then led to, we need to improve the substructure of the floor as well, and we might as well replace the floor. Additionally, as I mentioned, you now have more rows with these new bleachers, so they go up higher. Well, if you can imagine, I didn't include pictures here, my apologies, but the Los Altos gym, the current ductwork for the HVAC system sits on the wall above the bleachers. So if the top bleacher is now up higher, all of a sudden people are hitting their heads on the ductwork that's up on that wall. So that then led us to reroute and move where the ductwork goes. The current plan would be to actually route it on the top of the roof, which aesthetically is a much cleaner, better look for that gym. But those higher bleachers are pushing that ductwork elsewhere. And then because we now have increased capacity, there are fire code regulations. So we had to accommodate for that. One option is increase number of exits, which means cutting in the walls, creating more doors. That's a much more expensive option than adding fire sprinklers to meet the new code. So items 8, 9, and 10 are being pushed by the additional capacity that has been one of the desires all along with the gym upgrades. Number 8 is needed probably regardless, just to improve some of that substructure and replacement of the floor. So I want to be clear about that you can maybe get away with 9 and 10 if you didn't, do new bleachers. If you said, hey, team, don't go any up higher on the wall. If they're 10 rows now, keep them at 10 rows. We could do that. That count would be 819. Did I get that right, Eddie? Thank you. 819 would be the capacity. So if we want to keep the same number of rows to avoid fire sprinkler costs, to avoid rerouting the ductwork, we could, but we would actually be decreasing capacity down to about 800. So now we actually have less seating than we do now, and we don't even get half the school in there. If the school's around 2,200, you figure if you have 2 rallies, that's 1,100 students. So it creates some other challenges if we want to keep the number of rows and the height they go to the same. So that is how we've been designing it and looking at. I will go to the next slide, which then fills in the cost. So that original scope, this is total project cost. So construction cost plus the soft costs of all the non-construction related items was 8 million. Adding those additional items increased, it's about 10.5 million because AV system upgrade isn't just the projector and screen, it's all the internal wiring and consultants to design it, and receivers and microphones and speakers. And then to add that additional amount is bumping that project budget up to an estimated 12.2 million. To revisit then, we said, well, if we're now spending 12.2 million, what's left on the list that wasn't on that full scope we presented back May 19th. So we wanted to share, we added items 11, 12, 13, and 14. That puts the project to about 15 million. We're doing everything possible to make that gym as nice as possible, given its current box, given its current location, but wanted to share that in terms of context as we share the updated scope and what's needed, and look for some direction or something to consider. We shared this slide because was talk both in May and sense of, what about just a new gym at Los Altos, right? That's really what they need. I think some might say that for both schools, but that raises the question of where, right? And the geography of the school, we're limited how far we could push out to the west towards the field because we have to keep a 20-foot path for emergency vehicles. That's a current fire lane. We have the 2-story 900 building, the corner of the northwest corner of the gym, the southeast corner of the 900 wing. There's not a whole lot more than 20 feet there now. So we're limited how far we could expand out to the west. So another option could be, well, you just build it on the grass fields to the north of the gym out towards the tennis courts. Challenge is Los Altos already is undersized with the amount of grass they have. It's less than Mountain View. It's less than most other high schools. So taking away more grass to build a gym creates problems there. There's the question of when, right? When would you build a new gym? And that's pushing out in the future because you also got to address the question of how much and where you get the money, right? And a new gym is on the order of 30 to 40 million based upon some recent gyms QKA and Cumming Group have designed and helped build. All depends upon, is it just the gym or ancillary space like locker rooms and all that stuff? And how would you get that money? Likely with a community bond, right? We had a very successful supportive community with 2018 Measure E, and we've been able to accomplish a lot of those goals, but the purpose of Measure E was not new gyms, it was just to modernize and remodel a gym. So we could look at, if we wanted to stop at number 10, we could. And if we said, hey, if we're spending 12.2 million, let's go the full, let's see, 11, 12, 13, 14. We wanted to give a price tag to that as well. For context, the next slide just reminds us of here's what's going on with the scope at the Mountain View gym. This was discussed in consensus and direction back on May. And it has a lot of the same things you see on the prior slide, that full scope, adding the lobby, basketball hoops and equipment, some other considerations there. So if we look at where we stand with our Measure E bond funds plus the state funding we've already received, cash in hand with just under 44 million left. The gym project budget we approved in May is 17.5 million. If you plugged in the 12.2 project budget, 12.2 million for Los Altos. If you want to do that scope, that would leave $14 million remaining to put towards other yet to be determined projects. We have a list, we have some ideas. That's not today's discussion, but the point is to show there's a balance of funds there still to do other projects. We're going to exhaust Measure E funds the first part of the Mountain View gym anyway. If you change 12.2 to 15 million, you can do the math and there's, less remaining funds, but still it's in the magnitude of over $10 million. One last thing I'll say, and I forgot to mention at the beginning, the sequencing of this gym work. Currently, we're planning to do Mountain View gym first, starting this summer, which would be the 26-27 school year, and then Los Altos the following year. So was that 27-28 school year. DSA is not doing us any favors right now. They actually sent out blanket email to all architectural firms, including the one we're working with in our Fields project, that basically said, we're overwhelmed. We have a lot of submissions. Expect 6-week delays on your project review. Somehow they're able to do that, but that was the message we got. The new code goes into effect January 1 of 2026. So whenever that happens, when the new code goes into effect, it's not uncommon for a wave of submissions to be submitted before that deadline under the previous code. And so what we see is, bluntly, DSA is understaffed and can't reveal those projects. So I just share that because that's starting to impact our timelines a little bit, but we're not at the point we need to be overly concerned, but when we are, we'll provide that information to you. So with that, I will conclude. I don't know if Mr. Volta wanted to add anything, but we want to share this information and then kind of bring it to the board if there's agreement, support, questions, discussion. But we want to make sure we can give the design team and construction team direction in terms of how we want to go forward with this.
This is more. Yep. This is informational in that we will be asking we'll be asking Miriam and Eddie to be designing the full scope so that you can later, when we get the bids, design on just the original scope and the incremental increases so that you'll be approving the budget as we go forward. But we would like to at least rather than come back to it, have them start on the designs for for that full scope, 1 through 15, given that it's now with given what we found out with the subflooring. The subflooring adds a considerable amount of cost to even just the basics. Also, because of the wear of where a new gym would look, we're not going to get any bigger building. We can't go north, south, east, or west with our buildings because of through routes, safety routes, and the slope of the west side of the gym without some extra costs, some considerable extra costs. And so we're we probably need to make this building the best that it can be, because I don't know if we're going to get if there'll ever be a shot to build a new gym that will be bigger and better.
Okay, so you heard Eric's recommendation. So I guess the question before us is, are we going to take staff recommendation or do we have some other recommendation? And I guess first we'll take clarifying questions. Does anyone have any clarifying questions?
I do, and that is at the meeting, is that in May or June, we specifically said we would go ahead and drop the idea of a bigger lobby. So now it's reappeared. So that wasn't made clear that you've added that back in. And as well as 12, 13, and 14, the lighting upgrades and the acoustic panels and so on. So that represents the difference between 15 million and the 12.2. How much of that is the lobby expansion compared to the lighting, the acoustic, and the basketball? Like drawn out.
My notes were broken out in the estimates. I thought we have that at our fingertips. The bulk of it.
Exactly. So that means we're spending almost 3 more million to expand the lobby. And we already said we didn't think that was an important detail. So that's, if you wanted to design up to that, but keep in mind that we may not want to do that part and had it separated out as a line item that we could reject later, that would make sense. But I mean, or does the board feel like they've changed their mind and don't and want to add back in the lobby?
So Catherine, we're right now, we're just asking clarifying questions so we understand the problem and then we can move to the discussion. So does anyone else have any clarifying questions or does everyone understand?
Can I ask a question of Mike just for context? What is the size of what's going to be the size of the new lobby at Mountain View?
1,800 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that is after the board's guidance, I did hear from 1 or 2, not many, just 1 or 2 people that were concerned that Los Altos High School was getting shortchanged. So that's the other reason why we're coming back to you to sort of make things as equal as possible.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to clarify, you are bringing it back to us.
So Catherine,
Because we'd already said no.
The direction was very clear
Yeah.
and none of that has been designed.
That was my clarifying question.
okay. So Catherine, before we move on to a second round, if we could let others weigh in. So does anyone else have clarifying questions? Alex?
Yeah, like, could you share how many people does the Mountain View gym fit?
I can get you that number. Which size, Eddie? Sorry, the new side. Okay, I'm being told roughly the same size of around 1,200 of what we were.
I see. So Mountain View gym
Mhm.
is completely new. It is not bigger than Los Altos gym, and it also has 1,200 people capacity. Is that right? Or
So Mountain View's bleachers were redone long ago.
but that gym is new, is that right?
No.
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 No, that's
okay.
the
One said last time
original
it was
gym.
new. I see.
Those bleachers have the aisles and the handrails already, and they've had that for, like I said, over 10, maybe 15 years. That was switched out. Why Los Altos wasn't is a story for another time. So their current capacity is around 1,200 at Mountain.
Got it. So maybe like it's a generic question, whether it's Los Altos or Mountain View. So we seem to be of the opinions that we need to add lobby. We are in California, rain happens infrequently, mostly when people are on holidays, as far as I can tell from my own personal experience. Wouldn't it? And it seems like we are limited in the size of the gym, either in Los Altos or Mountain View. We got the space that we got, and that's it. Why wouldn't we use that lobby expansion for more gym capacity? Why would we build a lobby
capacity?
versus expanding the gym within the same bounds?
So when you say expanding the gym, you mean the bleacher capacity, like making bigger bleachers, or
I guess like
pushing
if
out
we,
the
let's say
walls?
we wanted, I guess maybe pushing out the walls. If we wanted, let's say, to fit 1,500 people and not 1,200 people, why are we saying we should build a lobby versus like expanding the gym to fit
In
1,500
terms of
people?
prioritizing.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it
right.
is.
We are saying it's not enough. It's just half of the school capacity, and yet we are recommending to build a lobby instead of increasing capacity.
Okay, so two things. One is that part of it is because we looked at adding bleacher capacity at Los Altos. Pushing out walls becomes very expensive, right?
Sure. This doesn't seem to be cheap either, but maybe
Sure.
I don't, I get that pushing
But
out walls will be
seismic
expensive too.
structuring and, an earthquake, and part of it, if you do certain dollar amount of work over 50% of the replacement cost, it triggers automatic seismic improvements as well. So that's,
What is it trigger? Can you repeat?
yeah, if you spend, tell me if I quote this wrong, Andy. So you look at the replacement cost, the cost of just the construction costs of a new gym or any
Yeah.
building. If you spend over 50% of that amount to modernize it, DSA adds additional requirements of seismic improvements to your project.
Like what? What's an example of that?
I mean, you've racing the wall. What would be examples of seismic improvements?
It could be improving the shear capacity of the walls or adding steel braces, like those diagonal braces. Have you seen those?
Is there maybe one sentence logic so I can understand?
So
Like
you-
why would they do that?
So you said
Like
about
why do they add such additional?
DSA wants you to build new buildings.
I see. Okay, so they're trying to make it harder to improve.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We want the building to be under current
Yes.
Safety
safety,
regulations.
whatever. And so
So they say if
They
you're gonna
have
spend
Those seem to increase every year.
50%.
No, that's
Yeah.
Threshold.
yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Have we evaluated
Yeah.
whether increasing capacity versus adding in lobby
Mhm.
puts us over that threshold of 50% of new gym?
We haven't looked at moving any of the walls. You can't really go to the east because there's locker rooms there. The west gets hard, besides the new mural that was just painted on it. You're getting close to the 900 wing. So now we may not be having the
Either one, maybe
Yeah.
yeah, either one. I guess I'm asking like, you have space to build a lobby.
Mhm.
Could you extend the gym there and add more capacity? Is this completely non-feasible?
two different types. A lobby is a low ceilinged, almost like it's two different. For the gym walls, to move those, you're talking about much higher. You're talking about the ceiling structures. I mean, if anything, maybe you have to remove a low ceiling on the lobby. I mean, the biggest fear with the lobby is if we keep the existing lobby at Los Altos, while at the same time Mountain View gets, I mean, how many times do you hear that from people? How come they got this and we
Yeah,
didn't
no,
get
that's
this?
a really good
This-
point.
We're actually trying to have both schools happy about what they got. Oh, it's about the same thing. It's a lot easier to add to a lobby or even just replace the windows to get, than it is to expand the actual gym building with higher ceilings, the trusses. You're also going to have to put the HVAC units up on top and so on. So it's going to be it's a whole different ball game when you talk about moving those tall concrete walls.
And in terms of the capacity, there's a little bit of a tipping point. If 2,200 is the size of the school, if you can't fit the whole school, let's say you can get bleachers that fit 1,800, right? And I turned to Dr. Ranieri, does that help you? Not really, because I still can't put the whole school in there. And for really no other event, do I need that much capacity, right? When we've talked to them and the athletic director and the coaches, you know, for many sport events, they don't even pull out both sides of the bleachers. It's only one size coming out, right? So there's, if you can't get the whole school in, whether it's, you know, 1,500 or 1,200 or 1,700, I mean, we looked at, hey, you could put bleachers on both ends and pull them out and have bleachers on all four sides. Like, well, that doesn't get the whole school in. So let's not add that additional seating and clutter and players running into it at the end of the courts. You know, maybe for parent events, you might, right? But it's not designed to be a
Got it.
theater.
So-
So that's part of the whole capacity in terms of what we evaluated.
But the 1,032, 12, that's an impactful change?
I would.
Or does it fall under the same issue?
I don't want to speak for, you know, Tracy. I think going up to 1,200 is impactful because now you're rather than being under 50%, you're over 50% of the current school enrollment, what we've been at, right? So 1,100 would be that for that threshold of 50%. I think the challenge is if you keep the bleachers the same number of row height that is now, you actually lose capacity. Now you can't even fit half the school. So that's the other constraint we have on the back end of, we don't want to decrease capacity. We're trying to, you know, keep it or increase.
And that's just the bleachers.
So Catherine, again, I think Alex had the floor.
One more last,
Yeah.
this was super helpful both for Mary and for you, thank you. One last question. Why is it that let's put budget and like new funding and all that aside for a second. Why is it that a new gym cannot be built within the same size of a plot? Like why a new building cannot be built?
You could tear down the existing one and build the
Right.
exact same size one.
So why were we saying that we would not be able to do that?
We could, you're looking at a 40, 30 to, well, by the time we passed a bond in order to do so, in today's dollars, you're looking at 30 or 40 million, you could be looking at 35 to 45 million dollars by the time we pass a bond. And because of the geography and where buildings are currently, you're not going to be able to build a bigger building unless you were to also tear down locker rooms, maybe reconfigure the locker rooms, put the locker room somewhere else.
So it's not that we can't, it's just that generally is a very expensive project and we are not sure if and when we will get funding for it. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And I would add, you don't get anything more for all, you know, intents and purposes than what you currently have, right? You don't get a bigger gym. You know, you can get a new floor with what you have. You can get a new HVAC system. So to build it roughly the same size in the same spot, it's a lot of money for, you know, not really anything new. And so part of the ethos of Measure E, you know, even at Los Altos, there was talk of like, hey, demolish the existing permanent classrooms, 200, 300 wing and center. That's where we should build a 2-story classroom. And the decision was made, let's minimize any demolition of existing permanent classrooms. Let's build where there's portables, which was where the new 600 building was built. Similarly at Mountain View. You know, that was what was valued at the time. But looking at tearing down something just to build back versus tear down to build something bigger, it's usually been to build bigger. And then, you know, a smaller part, but it still drives it. It's the more green thing to do is, you know, make use of existing, you know, buildings and the materials rather than demolish, throw it in the dump and build new stuff. So all of those things factor into
Cool,
that.
thank you.
Okay,
I
thanks.
have one other clarifying question.
Okay, but I think actually it's the dean's turn. So.
Yeah, actually, I want to follow up on Alex's thinking because I learned something as I think she was asking questions. My understanding is that we cannot stay at 1,030 current capacity if we make improvements, right? If we stay with the same bleacher height, but improve to be ADA compliant, we are dropping down to 800 and something, right?
Correct.
So 1,030 is not really an option. It's either 800 or increase the bleachers height, which involves other structural improvements to reach 1,200. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, You could say, no, we're gonna leave the bleachers as is, but we have not shared that recommendation because you manually have to pull them out. You know, when people are stepping up and down the bleachers, there's no handrails, you know, they're
Yeah.
not as safe as the modern ones, but
Then
that could be an option, I guess.
what, do you have a list of events where a capacity over 800 is needed?
I don't. I could get one. I could brainstorm. I'm thinking besides rallies, which you split, right? Tracy, you do two parent meetings, parent events, maybe.
Athletic tournaments.
Okay.
Do you think you could speak into the mic, Tracy, so the audience could hear you?
That's fine.
Oh, that's totally fine. We can ask you another
Yeah,
time.
if you can provide. So when we talk about the capacity, right, I think it would be helpful for us to know what we would enable. Otherwise, we're speaking abstractly in terms of, hey, more than half the student body, less than half. But realistically, over the years, what are the events that you would be enabled to hold?
Okay.
All right, if that capacity and how frequently, etc. My other clarifying question is, if given all the renovations without expansion, lobby expansion,
Yeah.
what are we actually keeping that's old? Because just going through the list, it seems like to uneducated eye, a lot of things are getting replaced. The floor, the windows, the roof. What's staying old?
The walls.
They're my previous.
The
ceiling?
lobby, the old single pane windows and,
But the windows are replaced, no?
those are the main windows. They're blue inside the gym. The gym has
Okay.
blue painted windows up high. So it's replacing those when it says window replacement.
I see.
Lobby says.
You know, the lighting would remain, the basketball hoops and the supports that come down remain, no acoustical panels. There's not acoustical panels now. So that when we say.
I meant structural, sorry, structural, just the walls and the support
The
system.
walls, there's nothing. The roof structure. You know, I mean, but maybe the paint on some of the walls, because there's a nice logo mural on the inside of the eagle breaking through the wall. That's where it's dark painted with, that wall's dark with the eagle breaking through. Trying to think, am I missing anything? Structural stuff? No.
And going back to my final question, going back to the expenditure summary, is my understanding correct that we have $43 million and 17 is allocated to 17.5 is allocated to Mountain View, which means that Los Altos allocation is currently at 12.2, but we have remaining 14 that we can decide to tap into. Is that correct?
Essentially, yes. No budget has formally been approved by the board. The original scope, if we're to go back to that, was 8 million, which is being pushed up to, 10.5 and 12 because of those 4 scope things. But you're correct. There's still a healthy amount left using those numbers we have up there.
Okay. Dr. Ranieri, did you have something to say? Okay.
Yes. I couldn't think of a list off the top of my head because frankly, there are not that many where we have more than we need for capacity, except for back to school night and open house. Those are our 2 biggest events. But I would say we use the gym frequently for larger presentations than we can hold in the theater, which is why the sound and the AV is so important for our gym. Athletic awards, student achievement awards, those are 2 large, but they're not more than fit in the gym. It's just that's our largest space that we have to have student and parent events.
So are you, sorry, I didn't understand. Are you like right now deprived of the capacity to hold those events? Was it like 800? If we leave, if we modernize the bleacher, which I think is important, we will reduce capacity to 800 plus, right? What kind of challenge would that create for these large events?
It's hard to know. I mean, I think depending on the event, there's other ways you can manage it by putting chairs on the floor in addition to the bleachers. So it sort of depends on the nature of the event for the setup. But what we do now is we've adapted to the size. It's just because of the AV, it's almost impossible to have
AV,
huge events. Yeah.
I know, my
Yeah.
wife, I wasn't there, my wife was, and yeah.
Would you say
If-
that the AV, like that system is almost more important than the capacity current or increasing?
If you can't hear, why be there, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And you do put chairs and people can sit on the floor.
Mhm.
So it's not only the bleachers.
If I might just, when it comes to facilities, there are the what ifs. If we have an opportunity to increase the capacity and 10 years down the road, another principal or Dr. Ranieri, maybe not 10 years from now, comes up with another purpose for that gym and say, oh, I wish we could just have 1,000 people that fit in this gym. Or let's say, for example, that all of a sudden basketball becomes a much larger spectator sport in our district. And then we have to start limiting students to coming into it when we had this opportunity with money that we have. It's an opportunity lost right now. So I think the reason why Mike and I are sort of pushing for this capacity increase is because we've seen gyms 20, 10, 20, 30 years. Well, why didn't they fix it when they had the opportunity and the money to fix it way back when? And if I'm not mistaken, Mike, are there any other projects remaining on our Measure E list?
And I just want to add to this before Mike answers, if you don't mind. I agree with everything you're saying. And in fact, even for a rally, when we have over 2,000 students, we have to have at least 1,000 capacity for a rally for students.
Or you have it outside, weather permitting. So what other projects do we have?
No, the only projects that were on the original Measure E list were things with the library, but we've since reevaluated that library, and a lot of it's just furniture changes, and we've been working with a furniture consultant and other district funds to address that. Because a lot of the original dreaming of that was knock down walls, open up space inside, and when we investigated it, those were structural walls, and we took that off the table. And we have other large gathering spaces, which defeated the need to have a larger interior library. So short answer is there's no other projects. This is it. This is the conclusion of Measure E. That concludes the funds and then taps into some of the state funding. But there are other projects on a list, and we shared a 5-year maintenance plan, home bleachers, Mountain View, some modular team rooms, some permanent restrooms at Los Altos out by the tennis courts and baseball field, but nothing on Measure E.
Okay, do we have, was that you raising your hand, Esme, or are you just moving? Okay, so Catherine, you had some other clarifying questions?
No, when are we going to actually discuss the proposal?
Well, now
not-
we are ready to discuss because everyone, I believe, has asked clarifying questions. I just want to check in. So it looks like everyone's asked clarifying questions. So yeah, let's move on to discussion.
Well, I think some of them weren't actually clarifying, but because they kind of overlap. But so we already voted to not do the lobby extension at Los Altos, point blank, at another meeting. So I'm asking the rest of the board here, are we making a new motion to put this back on the table by agreeing to this? And are we supposed to vote on this today?
We are not voting. We are looking for a consensus so that we can move forward with getting bids. Is that correct?
So that's why I asked if it could be separated out, the lobby part, in case we didn't want to expand the lobby at Los Altos. After all, that you could design the thing where it could be left alone or expanded or not.
So let me just maybe clarify, and Eddie, I think we're going to try and tell me this in my ears. So we have gone through and designed, because we knew it was essential, Eddie, items 1 through 10, is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I'm asking about
Correct.
11.
With, hey, these can be bid as, it's called add alternate, so you can see pricing,
Mhm.
right? But because of the critical nature of some of it and to keep things moving, we went ahead with the design of that. 11, 12, 13, and 14, if there was a desire to add those, include those, QKA would have to go back and do additional work to add those things. So nothing's been done on that. It could be added. It could be added in a way, correct me if I'm wrong, that you could bid it separately and get pricing. But we didn't want to waste their time if we're never going to consider that, or we could certainly say, hey, given all these things, and I mean, I remember the square footage analysis Eddie and his team and Mark Katroki had to do at the beginning of Measure E, like dance room, weight room, I mean, down to the different places.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so you said the last three were pretty cheap. So I don't know if I personally care about that one way or another. If you think it should be in because they are really useful, the lighting and stuff. It's the only one we'd actually kind of already discussed and already kind of made a decision on was the lobby at Los Altos. So I just want to know if the rest of our board feels that we want to change our mind and go for lobby at Los Altos or not.
So I would just say that we have new information about the whole project. So I would suggest to the board, and you can decide differently, that we look at this as a whole and decide. If we want to break out different pieces, that's great. If Catherine wants to break out the lobby, that's great. If we have other members who want to do that. But I think first of all, I think hopefully the no-brainer is do we want to pay to, as I think Vadim put quite correctly, do we want to pay to modernize the bleachers and increase their capacity, because it would be 800 versus 1212. So I think that's kind of the first decision. So how does the board feel about that one? Hopefully that one's pretty easy.
Except for I don't understand that, because here it says, I don't see anywhere on this paper that actually says the 8 whatever.
Yeah, the 800 is not listed there. That would be if you
not.
replaced
That's the lobby.
in kind, so to speak, of keep the same number of rows of bleachers compared to the 1,000 capacity is now. If you want to increase the height and the rows of the bleachers, you'd actually reduce to 819. So that's the 800 number, and that's not listed. It's just in my notes.
I'll share. I'm actually in agreement with Vadim and potentially others here. I think that's important work to do.
Yeah, me as well.
I agree that we need to at least have the same capacity we already have. However you do it.
Okay,
At least.
so the capacity, are we looking at the current capacity? So are we looking at 1030 or 1212? It sounds like whatever we do, we would have to do the flooring replacement, correct?
Right.
So is everyone in agreement to move to the new bleacher capacity of 1212?
Because this is an informational item, what we're doing is we're sharing our thoughts as far as an increase. So just so long as we put it in that context. And if there's anything on there that you want to decide later, like a lobby, then we put that as an add alternate as well. And then we'll bring that back as an add alternate. This is information as far as what we found. We're letting you know in open session because of what we found, what we're gonna tell QKA to start working on, unless there was an absolute no way we want to go back to the drawing board on this gym, and then we would go back to the drawing board. So this is somewhat informational in that we're going to ask QKA for an add alternate for the lobby and above of what we already did, knowing that you already approved the original scope, knowing that we know we need an AV and flooring replacement. So really it's just 11 through the other ones,
right,
that we're going to get an additional bid on and cost out, and that way we know.
So we agreed on the bleachers, right? As May, you didn't say anything, but
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in agreement of everything 1 through 10. I think
right.
11 through 14 is what we're maybe
Yes,
would want to
so
consider.
11 through 14 is what, let's move on to 11 through 14. So lobby expansion.
I would like to see that pulled out. as a separate bid. Not that I would be against it, but I would like to see how much that is.
I agree with Scott.
And I would like to see 12, 13, and 14 just added into the original package because that seems to me so integral with, if you're going to have decent sound system, you better be able to see what you're doing too. I mean, lighting and also acoustics will help with the AV also. And I think basketball hoops and equipment are cheap enough, you might as well do it. And they're getting new ones at Mountain View, so you might as well have new ones.
Okay, so what I heard was pulling out the lobby and adding everything else. Is everyone in agreement with that, or does anyone have
I'm
any
happy with
other comments? Okay,
Pulling the lobby to still consider.
to still consider it, but
Yeah,
pulling
but
it
just
out of a
not
separate
Have
bid.
it separate. Yeah, have
Thank
it
you.
separate.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Okay, great. All right, so next up is item 12.2, presentation on special education.
May we thank our Cummings group for
Yeah, thank you very much.
staying so late to support us here.
Thank you.
And architects, sorry, you're both here. Okay.
Okay, welcome Special Ed Director Jennifer Smith. Would you like questions during the presentation or held until the end?
After would be nice.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I wish you happy holidays. As you saw, I passed out some cards, and when you get a chance to open them, I want to acknowledge Kathy Brenner's class, and the artwork was completed by our students, and they sold those cards for a fundraiser. So my name is Jennifer Smith, and I'm honored to be here in front of you, school board, and the community, and Superintendent Volta, to present on our special education identification, services, and achievement. It's very important that we review these items for transparency and to highlight the process within the district. So we will cover these three areas: the identification process for becoming eligible for special education services, the continuum of services that we have within the district, and our achievement data within our special education services department. This provides context on how we support all of our learners. So the referral process is how we identify our students. The process is structured under state and federal law. It begins with a referral, followed by assessment planning, evaluation, and eligibility meeting within 60 days. The referral oftentimes comes from the parent or a teacher, but can also come from these other members of our community, both school community and home community. So sometimes we will receive letters from outside providers that the parents provide us, but at any time, a parent can request an evaluation through the main office. And we take those evaluations and we determine whether or not we agree that we should move forward with an assessment. Sometimes we want to make sure that we've exhausted all of our general education or tier 1 services first to make sure the student's being supported in the least restrictive environment. Within special education, there's 13 categories under the California law. I have crossed off the preschool because that doesn't pertain to us. But eligibility is determined by educational impact, not diagnosis alone. So some of our students may have a diagnosis from a doctor where they've looked at the DSM and they've determined that the student has a disability, but that disability may not be impacting their education. And if that's the case, they may not qualify for an IEP, but that does not mean that they don't have a diagnosis and they're not disabled. It just means that they're able to function with the tiered interventions we have in place in our schools as they are. If they are found eligible under one of these areas, we do move forward if the impact is their disability is impacting their education, and we provide them with an individual education plan. At that time, we do look at our service continuum within the district, and we want to make sure we serve our students within the least restrictive environment. So we provide a full continuum of services ranging from general education accommodations to specialized program guided by the least restrictive environment. Students may receive accommodations in general education, co-taught classes or related services such as speech, OT, PT, APE, or therapeutic supports. We also have academic and skill-based services such as learning skills, study skills, core content classes, academic communication, and therapeutic skills. These classes are based on the individual student's needs, and that's how we determine their placement within the IEP program. We have specialized programs as well that enhance support for the core content. This class does not meet A to G requirements. So when students are placed on this, we are very cognizant and evaluating that as an IEP team and being very clear with families that their students would be eligible to go to a 2-year and transfer to a 4-year. Within our therapeutic programs, we offer counseling and support and behavioral support for students. This small class setting allows students to become more comfortable in completing their A to G diploma. We also have a life skills class that focuses on independence and vocational readiness. This will be our first graduating class with the alternative pathway diploma. And we're looking forward to hearing from the state how that is going to count or not count in our graduation rates. So those are the continuum of programs and services that we hold within the district, and we try and meet the diverse learning needs of our students within the programs that we have. If we have enough students for a particular program, we create that program. If we don't have the need, we may close the class down temporarily and hold it until we have student need driven classes. In regards to the California dashboard, as you're familiar, the academic performance, graduation rate, college career readiness, and suspension rate also includes indicators for students with disabilities. We monitor these programs for equity and progress of our students. I've been able to take screenshots here of our performance in each of those areas, comparing 2024 to 2025, which actually is the previous graduating class, to show improvement across most indicators within special education. Suspension rate increased slightly, and we continue to focus on prevention and tiered supports for those students. This will be our first graduating class with alt pathway diploma, as I mentioned, and we're looking forward to hearing from the state if that raises our graduation rate, being able to count those students or not. Otherwise, we'll be status quo, and those students will be counted as they are now, similar to the certificate of completion. I've also taken the dashboard percentages of how we are performing compared to other districts. I will say the outlier is Palo Alto because they are a unified district and they have scores including elementary in there. But the dashboard colors reflect the change over time. So even though the percentage may be less than or greater than another district, we're really looking at those colors. And if you'll remember that red is the lowest and blue is the highest here. So students with disabilities are demonstrating competitive performance with strong ELA and math proficiency here. And we also have excellent performance for graduation rates in college and career readiness for students with disabilities over time. I think it's very important that we call out our SWAN, our students who are identified in more than one category. So we have our total enrollment, our percentage of students with disabilities, which always looks great when it's around 10%. Most districts are much higher at this time, close to 13%. We have 60 students that are also identified as multi-language learners in addition to being students with disabilities. And it's important that they receive both programs to participate in so that they can acquire the language necessary and also the supports necessary for them to access their education. We do have one foster youth student in last year's data that also had an IEP, and 5 students who were homeless or youth in transition, as well as having an IEP, and a total of 3 students that fell in more than 2 of those areas. So I think it's important as a department to be cognizant of who those students are and making sure that they're the most successful. I know that if we put supports in place for them, all of our students will succeed. Additionally, when students make progress and perform well, it's very important that we celebrate their achievements. And sometimes we forget that an IEP isn't for life. It may be that their disability is for life, but if they're able to access their education, that is something definitely to be celebrated. And so in some cases, the student may no longer need these supports and they can be moved back into general education classrooms. And that's a positive thing. Sometimes our students just need accommodations, and that would be similar to what they can receive on a 504 if they're working with the 504 team. And the good thing is those 504 accommodations can go with them to college, whereas an IEP stops when they get a diploma or they turn 22 years old. So our goal overall is to support every student in succeeding through the use of early identification, appropriate placement, data-driven supports, helping them build independence and celebrate their successes, including family input along the way and making sure that we're being equitable. Take any questions you have at this time. Okay. Please raise your hand if you have a question.
Well, welcome, first of all. I think this is your first time, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, welcome and thank you for leading this presentation, something I was looking forward to. Just so that, probably Eric shared with you, but, I haven't personally, right, because of the way the board operates. We oftentimes hear about cases of special education from when in closed session when we discuss various recommendations that we need to approve. We also hear a lot of complaints from parents about the way that their cases have been handled. And I understand these complaints because as a parent, when you see your child suffering from something, you want to fix it right away. You don't want to wait days. So it is very important for the board to understand exactly what the procedures are and what we can do in order to offer better support. So my questions are coming from that perspective. So as far as what I would like to see in general is maybe like a flow chart with dates that are state requirements and also dates that maybe we can hold ourselves a little to be like faster in responding to parents on, you may started with identification, right? If the school identifies a child in need of special educational services, how long does it take to reach a decision? If a child needs to be, I don't know, provided with accommodations, how long does that take? Like different stages. Is this something that's doable?
Yeah, we already have something that we can pass along to
Would
you
you
through
share?
the superintendent.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Put in the next update.
Okay. And also if that can include, like, this is what state requires, like if we fail, we are liable versus, we are currently at this number, but we can provide a much better service to our community if we were to lower it, and here's what it would take. Let's see. I wonder what the data is on the request for evaluation. Like, among all the evaluations, where are they mostly coming from? Is it from the parents? Is it from the teachers?
Mostly from parents.
So
But
parents.
sometimes teachers do identify students that in need.
Okay. Is there any like stigma or negative consequence to these evaluations? Like what would it take for a parent to request an evaluation from the student?
They just need to notify either their counselor or send a letter to the main office.
But there are
And
no.
we have
okay,
15 days to respond to them.
15 days.
Mhm.
And what do you attribute to the improvements from 24 to 25? I mean, it seemed significant across the board.
Yeah, I wasn't here to know everything that was implemented, but I do know that there's some new programs in place, some stronger teaching and trainings that happened. And so we want to continue that trajectory.
Okay. And sorry, I'm taking some time. It seems from the chart, like Palo Alto, I can't compare, right? If the participant data is different, you can't really make assessments. But from Los Gatos seem to be doing somewhat better, I would say. And they have a lower suspension rate. Do
Yeah,
you know?
the suspension rate was concerning. That was the one area that I need to monitor more closely.
Yeah.
And support school sites with alternatives to suspension, which I know they are doing. Just in nature, some of our students do have behavioral disabilities, and it is going to take a little more effort to work with them so that they can
Yeah.
conform to what the norm is within the classroom with supports from our team.
Yeah. I'm not questioning suspension rate. I understand, right, that sometimes there is a need. And if anything, that Los Gatos is out of the ordinary low, 1.4, right? Like everybody, Mountain View isn't actually better than Fremont and overall state of California. But across other areas, I think Los Gatos has better numbers. Do you know what they are doing that's different than us?
I've just recently met the director of special education and started connecting with other directors in our area so that I can find out what programs they have, what programs, and share information. I'm trying to build that network of communicating what curricular programs are they using that might be helping with the math and ELA. And just kind of digging in on that more. I know their numbers are lower, overall enrollment and special education numbers as well. So.
My last question is, and what does the feedback loop looks like from parents? Do parents contact you directly when they have either concerns or questions about the program on what's offered?
So it's multiple of ways. Sometimes it comes in through the school site. We do have a program specialist at each school site that can help support. The assistant principals and principals are amazing in addressing parent concerns and bringing in those program specialists. I also have a coordinator in the office and myself. And so sometimes the phone calls or emails come directly to us. And then I always loop back to the sites, what has been done, how, what is the concern, how can we address it? And I think overall, I've seen some great customer service. I think in the department itself, there was some inconsistency. And now that we're there and we have a full team, I think we're all prepared to respond to any parent concerns, and I welcome them. Two of us in the office are very familiar with the program, have children or grandchildren in the program, and our heart is really about supporting families and supporting the students. So we know not necessarily where they're coming from, but we share their concerns and we want to make sure that we're supporting them.
Last question, promise. What do you need from us? Like if you wanted to make things better, is there anything that the board can do to help you?
I think just an understanding that, our students have a lot of needs. And sometimes for us to best meet the students' needs, we don't have the programs available and we have to place them in programs outside of our district, which is not something we ever want to do, but it is the best thing for the student. And we're very careful in how we decide that. And we make sure that we've exhausted everything we could possibly do here before we take on that type of decision. But I think just as you are, looking at each individual student case and supporting in what you think is going to meet their needs.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think, Alex, did you have your hand raised? No. Okay, Catherine?
I do.
Or, sorry, Esme, you should go.
Vadim actually asked the two questions I had around what factors most contributed to the data. And I know you're fairly new, but I'm curious, Terry, if you have thoughts on what has most contributed to some of those improvements.
Intentional planning, listening to feedback on what the challenges are, and working to address those challenges and prioritizing them. Pulling the right voices to the table to be part of the thought partners. And then some of the real contributors that led to the improvement that we're working on. Looking at the data, you know, the whole co-teaching and this restricted environment and figuring out how we are going to improve this data potentially.
Okay. And then just to clarify, what we see on the dashboard, is that reflective of our programs, or does that include when we have placed students outside, like to other programs that we can't accommodate?
It is
like
our
needs?
programs.
It's just our program. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right, Catherine.
Okay, on the academic supports, Terry mentioned co-teaching. Is it under the academic supports that the co-teaching is, and then also constructing meaning? Do you have any evidence that constructing meaning has helped this particular population in particular, or not?
I would say that co-teaching is a gen ed placement for students, and that structure of supported teaching is very beneficial for students when done with Fidelity. And I know that they've recently had more training around that. Previously, my experience with CM as a instructional strategy has been very successful, and I'm assuming the same thing would be true here.
Okay.
When implemented.
And then do we have the same things at both schools? Like, do they both have life skills programs? Do they both have
They do not.
therapeutic and so on? So who has what?
So Mountain View has our life skills program, and then they transition once they get their certificate of completion, or in the future, their alternative pathway diploma, to the adult transition program. It's also located near this site. And then our Los Altos campus has our therapeutic intervention program that was started last year. It's been really successful as a program for students to be here and try and serve them here in our community before sometimes we need to move to another placement. And it's also a step down when they return from placement. So we've had quite a few students be able to come back to our program after they've successfully completed outside of our programs.
Okay, so about how many do you, or you could tell us these numbers later, are in life skills, and like how many are in therapeutic? Just curious.
Probably approximately 40 students in the life skills program, maybe 45. And then ATPU has about 30, and the therapeutic program has about 12.
What was that second one you said?
Therapeutic program?
No, the
ATP, the adult transition
Oh,
program.
okay, yeah, yeah. And then the other question I had was, or request, maybe you would want to, have you talked to Campbell High School District? I mean, because they're the other high school district pretty locally to here, or do you know anything about them, or?
I could have looked up their data and added it to the dashboard slide that I did. I was choosing ones that were more in our region of the county, and definitely have an opportunity to connect with that special education director at our SELPA cabinet, where all the directors come together and share information.
no.
Yeah.
Campbell is pretty close, though. Yeah. So I'm just curious. And then I'm really curious about your statistic on number of students with disabilities that are multi-language learners, because I don't know, but I had kind of the false impression that a lot of special ed students were English learners, but does not show that.
No.
Because 486 are in the SPED situation, and only 60 of them are English learners. That's interesting. So, yeah. And then the other one is, do we get to since we are not K-12, we're I mean, we're 9, 12. Do we get to we don't get to necessarily reassess them in high school? Or what is
We
the
do.
what is the criteria to reassess and say you don't need special ed anymore or whatever?
So a student's reassessment occurs every 3 years. So that it is possible for them to be reassessed freshman, sophomore year. And then again, if they're in the extensive needs support program, they might be reassessed again at the adult transition program. It's unlikely that they won't qualify in the extensive needs support. But in more of the mild, moderate programs, students can be very successful in accessing their education and fade out of services.
Okay, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then, so, you've established good relationships with the K-12 people, the, Los Altos and
Yes.
Mountain View Wisman.
Yeah, the last
And,
2 weeks we
how-
hosted parent meetings
Mhm.
for the students transitioning in. So it's a very exciting collaboration.
Mhm.
We have approximately 72 students coming in from Wisman and 23 students coming in from Los Altos
How
with
did you,
IEPs.
22, you said?
23 and 72.
23, it's just curious.
And so we did parent meetings with them the last 2 weeks and invited them to come and hear about our programs, a little bit different PowerPoint presentation. And they got to ask their questions, and there'll be more opportunities for them to learn and have an individual meeting about transition when their student becomes our student, when their student transitions to our schools.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just curious on how that was working. All right, thanks. Great presentation and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. I had a couple questions. Is first of all, what do you do with parents who don't show up to the transition meetings?
Transition meetings, like all IEP meetings, we attempt 3 different ways to get a hold of them and have them participate. After we've documented the 3 ways, we do go ahead and hold the IEP and send home the paperwork, and we follow up with multiple means of including them, offering to hold another meeting, sending the IEP to them certified, asking for them to sign digitally.
Okay. And then since part of my job is to pass on community concerns, I'm just going to pass on what I've heard. This is just simply what I've heard is, first of all, the first year as a trustee, I heard a lot about special ed, I heard a lot of complaints. Those complaints have gradually gone down. Now this year, I've heard none. So that's great. So whatever you're doing, if it's not reaching me, I'm not saying other trustees aren't hearing complaints, but the fact that I'm not hearing complaints is really good. So, and a lot of complaints were about compliance or staffing personnel issues. So I applaud you for dealing with those, cleaning those up. And I think the next step is there's still a little bit of wariness about, are you going to stay? Because you seem great, but are you going to stay? Is the personnel, as you mentioned, the customer service going to remain good? Because we have excellence throughout if you look at any other department, most people would say, oh yeah, that's excellence. And what I'm hoping to hear from parents is more than just silence, but actually yeah, I had a great experience, and I actually did personally have a great experience with my child through MVLA's special ed department. So I would like parents to come to me and say, yeah, it was great. Which they do say. I mostly hear complaints. That's mostly what I'm here for. But I would like to hear some more yeah, special ed was great, and my kid just had a great experience. So what is your plan to sort of move from, you inherited, I think, a lot of issues. You have some challenges. I accept that. So what's your plan? I guess it's sort of ephemeral, but I think really what I'm talking about is trust of parents.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
is crucial to having a functioning special ed department. If they trust that you're going to take to Vadim's point, if they trust that their kid has a problem and you're going to take care of it, then they will move through the process with you. And it's bureaucratic. We all know, takes so long to do assessments and all this stuff. But if they have this trust that you care and you're taking care of their kid, then they'll go through the process with you hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking you, I know this is a difficult question, but how are you
Explaining
doing
my
this?
why helps with a little bit with that. So,
Yes.
So my mom was a parent of a child with an IEP, and I struggled. I watched her struggle to navigate the system. It's a very difficult system. Sometimes it doesn't make sense at all. And that is why I went into this. I started as a IA and a bus rider. I became a teacher and worked my way up. So I've walked in a lot of our staff's shoes, both classified and certificated, and I feel like I can connect with them on that level. We have some very intelligent, hardworking professionals in the department that care about kids. And I think knowing that we're all coming from the same place, we may view it differently, but we're all coming from a place of wanting the students to succeed. We can share that with parents and meet them in the middle. Unfortunately, there is a piece of special ed that can be litigious. I feel personally that the system's a little broken. And unfortunately, it does ruin relationships. And so my goal is always to solve the problem at the lowest level before involving those higher level resources that are available to families, but it does tend to break down relationships. So I just get to the why, what is it about the concern or your students' needs that we can address? And I can say what we can and can't do, what's part of the law, what's not part of the law, and we can find some kind of middle ground usually. And I think my ability, having come from a SELPA, where I was able to kind of be a mediator and facilitate IEPs for districts with concerns from parents, has enabled me to do that and not need to depend on outside resources for that. And so we are planning continuous training for our instructional aides, our teachers, our itinerant service providers, but also parent engagement and opportunities for them. When we come back after winter break, we're going to be doing a parent engagement on executive functioning. And we hope to have our community come out and hear about how we implement executive functioning into our schools, into our classes, and how we can support students with those needs. So it's hearing from them, like you said, good, bad, ugly, and working through it with them. And so I've been really impressed with the community and how supportive they are and the resources that are available here. And it's a very great place to be and work. And I have like 11 years before I can retire. So I'm not planning on going anywhere to answer that question.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So no, are we ready to move on? Or? Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much again. Okay, now we have 13.0 consolidated agenda. Does anyone have any questions before we consider a motion? Okay, seeing none. No, oh, you do? Okay.
Just a second. I want to get to. I have questions about the course offering. One question is anything we do in order to encourage more semester-long courses rather than year courses? Or how, like, none of the description of the courses include what would make this course bad as a semester long, right? Or there's no consideration.
High schools have been trying to phase out semester courses for a long time. In fact, there are very few left. Part of it is because the UC system encourages year-long classes, and to have classes that may not get that designation is not a goal of most districts. And if they do, then it's usually an elective G and not in one of the core course areas. So districts, many of the districts that I know of, some that I've been a part of and so on, have phased out the semester long courses. Obviously, you asked social studies to come up with some semester long courses to fill in that hole, but that's why. The other part about semester classes, that if you have multiple semester classes, you're adding constraints to the master schedule, because the combinations of classes that a student can take is not just 7 classes by 2,100 students, and fitting those in based upon what their desires are. You're looking at potentially, the more semester classes you take and the more combination, then you're adding different periods and different combinations of classes that students can take. So those semester classes have been phased out over time. Health is a semester only because there's not enough content to make it a year-long class.
We have microeconomics, which is a social studies, and it's semester class.
That's because that's because it counts as the senior social studies class. Probably for 50, 60 years, the state of California said you had to take a semester of government.
Yeah.
And then it was government and then in 1987, 88, they were started to require economics as part of it. So then that's why the economics is a semester class. It's
Any reason we are not looking at personal finance? Because that will become a requirement in another year. So I know we don't have to, but on the other hand, with ethnic studies, we went like a couple of years ahead of the schedule, and with personal finance, it's not on the agenda.
And I'm trying not to be cheeky. I think we want to go more in line with where everyone's going, as opposed to jumping out there ahead of everyone else and seeing what the general consensus is. The personal finance is interesting because I'd kind of like to see what other districts are doing, whether or not they're going to replace economics with personal finance, or whether they're going to make that another standalone class. So I'd rather not get out in front of it until we absolutely have to.
Okay. Catherine?
That would add to this, though. And that is, why, to give students more choice, why couldn't there be more semester classes? Would it ease things if they were only offered one or the other of the semesters? So you could take these semester classes first semester, or these second semester, but not any old time, because that does indeed complicate the master schedule.
Oh, it does, because not only do you have with year-long classes, if I have a year-long social studies class, a social studies teacher is teaching that class for the year, and we build our master schedule. If I were to take a semester of social studies and a semester of art, or some students were to take the art semester but a science semester, and so on, and if there wasn't a lineup, now you're taking whole teachers and putting them in half. So you wouldn't be able to teach just marine biology in the first semester. It would have to be spread out the entire year so that you can actually staff that. So you wouldn't be able to do that. So the other constraint is teacher credentialing, and you wouldn't be able to flow.
Just wondering.
Yeah, it's been a big push, and the only survivors, it seems like, have been the senior social studies electives and health, and now in this district, ethnic studies.
Okay, are we ready to?
I move that we accept the.
Okay, hold on.
I thought.
Are we, does anyone want to pull any items?
Oh.
I need to pull 13.5 and 13.7. Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought you would be doing that before the questions. Anyway, that's all right. Sorry.
We just had questions.
I know. I was thinking if it was pulled, it was already pulled. But
Okay.
it's, yeah. Okay.
All right, so does anyone want to pull anything else? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar without 13.5 and 13.7?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Okay. Motion by Catherine, seconded by Alex. Any questions or comments? Please, well, actually, you don't have comments on the consent calendar. So board, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. So now we move on to 14.0 items pulled from the consolidated agenda. And I'm going to need Terry for this one. So I have a question on the course for photo 2. Los Santos High School is marked as 5 and 10 credits. So which is it?
5 credits for semester 1, 10 credits total in the end. So it's 10 credits.
Okay, so can it be amended to 10 credits in our motion and passed, or does it need to come back?
No, it can be amended.
Okay, so do we have does anyone else have any comments or questions about 13.5? Okay, do I have a motion to pass 13.5 with the amendment of photo 2 Los Santos marked as 10 credits?
So motioned.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Alex, seconded by Catherine. All board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Next, 13.7. So the minutes for November 17th need to be amended. The voting members present should list all those presents with their correct titles.
Is
And
that that's 13.7 is just
Property sales.
surplus
Oh,
property.
sorry, I meant to pull 13.10 then. Can I go back then?
We've already approved 13.10.
Okay, well, whatever. It's incorrect, but that's okay.
If you can, you can email us the corrections and we can bring it back next meeting with the corrections.
Okay,
But we do have to vote for 13.7.
I move we approve 13.7.
okay.
I'll second.
What was wrong with 13.7?
It was a mistake.
It was just a mistake in
pulled
the
back.
minutes. It didn't list everyone present.
Oh,
It's okay. I can just email it.
I think we need a vote on 13.7.
Okay, so do I have a motion to vote on 13.7?
I did that.
Okay, motion by
And she,
Catherine, seconded by Esme. All in favor?
aye.
Okay. Move on to 15.0 business action items. First is 15.1 resolution 252627 developer impact fees report for 24-25. This is an annual business item to report on the income and expenses of this fund. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we consider a motion? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
So,
Okay, second, moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex. All in favor? Okay, 5-0. Okay, next we have our 2025 interim budget report. Mike, do you prefer questions during the presentation or how to they?
I think we will continue with questions at the end of the presentation. if That's
Okay.
okay. Good evening. I'm back up and Director of Fiscal Services Elvis Lopez is with me. We are given the time of the meeting and this information was presented in advance. These first couple slides are just our standard format, informing those that maybe not be familiar with the budget process, why we do this, where we are in the process, the context AB 1200. This is our first interim budget report. So showing our financials as of October 31st, which was a month and a half ago. Here we are meeting December 15th deadline. So with that, I'm going to let Elvis take it away and talk through high level numbers of what the district budget is looking like here at this first interim report. Go ahead, Elvis.
So the first slide you'll see up here is our revenues.
unrestricted non-property taxes and state revenues. Then you see the middle column, which is restricted. Again, restricted is strings attached, and mostly it involves special ed and donation accounts. And then obviously on the right, with everything combined together. So you look at the restricted LCFF, property tax is 114 million. That is a secure property tax number that we got. 6 million is unsecured. Unsecured means any assets that are in the property or when they go out and do the assessment for businesses, leases, and everything like that. That's where those numbers come from. So the next slide. Next slide is same thing. Unrestricted is all of our salaries and benefits. A lot of this it got increased because there was no increase when we did the adopted budget. So a lot of these numbers will be higher than the adopted budget. There'll be a slide later on that shows that. The number that I want to highlight here, again, it's always restricted side of $4.9 million. That number is higher by $2 million, which is the carryover of the amount that donation accounts that we have within the district. So that number for first center will always go up higher than adopted budget. Just to let you know, you'll have a description later on, but that's the number I want to point out now so that everyone doesn't get shocked when you see the difference of adopted budget to the first center. Again, restricted, unrestricted, again, we show balance, we show positive. So we are in the green. So we have a remaining balance of $9,149. Restricted, again, we show a deficit spending on restricted. Again, deficit spending on restricted means we have monies in the bank and we're spending all of our grants and all the donation numbers down. That doesn't mean we're overspending any extra monies, the monies that we have already accounted for in the bank that's sitting there. So we are accounting for that expenditures. And then the total on the far right on blue is it comparably saying, well, if you add them all up, that's the difference of the fund balance. Again, restricted is only what we already have in our fund balance. So it's not extra money. This is our donation account for each school site. Again, the numbers here are very inflated. There are a lot of numbers because when we moved ASB monies out of from ASB that wasn't for student activity and put it into our donation accounts, it influxed the donation account for the school sites. Mountain View has 28 accounts all combined. Los Altos has 21. Alto Vista has 10. So this is a variety of accounts combined together. Reserves, 17% of the board has been requested us to do. We show a small increase still, so we are in the good of the reserves. The bottom line, you'll see where the number comes from. So it's our fund balance from general fund, Fund 17, and our OPEB money that we have. This slide. This is a comparative of adopted budget to first center. The number I'm going to highlight on the top is the 1.2 million. That number is less due to the fact that we projected 5% in property taxes to an adopted budget. The number came at 3.89%. Mr. Walter said 3.9, but it's 3.89 to be exact. So I just want to point that out. That's a lot of that property taxes that came in lower than we anticipated. The lower number, state revenues, it's other state revenue. The big number there is the money we just got from the professional development grant. It's 1.3 million, I want to say, additional this year, and it also includes other monies that we're getting, Prop 28 and additional dollars. So a lot of that influx is new money we're getting in for grants this year. Total revenue again went up by $1 million as a collective. Here, certificate classified employment benefits increased. This is, like I said, due to the fact that when we did adopted budget, we did not have the 4% built in yet, because we did that after the fact of when the adopted budget was done. If we look on books and supplies, the $2.7 million, again, that's the number that I want to highlight because $2 million of that is carryover money that we bring it back into our books that we have to show that we're going to spend it this year. So again, that's the number that will influx a lot. Every year we do adopt the budget to first interim, that number will always increase due to the fact that we have to account for carryover dollars that we have in the bank. Again, adopted budget first interim. In the adopted budget, we had a surplus 3.7 million. Since there was no 4% increase built into that. It was as status quo prior to the 4% being approved in June. The adopted budget had to be done by June. And agreement was done in June. Adopted budget had to be done by May 31st. So that's where the lapse and the difference is at of why that happened. If you look on prior step on the differences of variance between adopted budget and first interim, you'll see the numbers highlighted on the very far right. I described on this page will show you everything when it is for all the differences and everything combined together. So this is a more down descriptive of what it is in every dollar amount and where it comes from. And like Mike said, prior to that, it was very high level. Look at it as a complete whole. This gives you the breakdown of where the dollars came and what came in and what moved out.
Okay, so we transition out this part of the slide deck to looking at the future, right? What you have right now is a snapshot of the current year. And this is the multi-year projection. So it's showing the current year plus the future 2 years. A lot of numbers on these in the next 3 slides. Really, the better way to look at it is in the thicker budget packet. The page that has the colorful, it shows it all in one 8.5 by 11, but it's hard to copy and paste that in a slide deck. Really, the takeaways from this, if you see it, everything's going up every year. Revenue is increasing every year. Expenditures are increasing this year. But really, if we look to, and I'm just going to jump ahead to the slide 3 of 3 for this, the ending fund balance in the unrestricted column, we do see an increase every year. So in the green year, 26-27, right, this is increasing by 1.3 million unrestricted. And then the blue year, 27-28, it's increasing by 1.4 million. Again, that's unrestricted. Think of that as most of our operational expenses. Restricted funds, sometimes you see a deficit, but Elvis has already alluded to that. Sometimes that's because you're spending money that you're starting the year with already in the bank, already in your beginning balance. But really the important part of the multi-year projection is the assumptions behind it. So let me just highlight a few of those. What I'm going to share, this page is included in that thicker budget packet, which is available for the public. It's posted online. This has all the detailed backup, all the standardized account code structure, known as SACs, all the forms that Elvis and his staff are required to calculate and submit. But a few key things in the multi-year assumption, I think it's important at board level to take away. First, on the revenue basis, when you look at revenue growing each year on that property tax LCFF line, when we did the adopted budget, we were assuming 5% secured property tax growth in the 2 outer years. We've revised that down based upon our experience this year and the trends we were seeing from the assessor's office. So our assumptions for revenue growth in 26-27 is 3.5%. We're at 3.89 this year. And the monthly data we're getting from the assessor's office is tracking similar to what we got coming into this year. So that's where we are targeting that 3.5%. And then to be conservative, we are assuming 3% secured property tax growth in that final year, right? And as we've shared before, and we'll reiterate, in large part, although it's still growing, it's growing by a lot smaller amount than we've seen in the district in the last 12 to 13 years, is mostly due to commercial property value significantly dropping. So that's the assumption. I share that because even with those lower assumptions, given the other expenditure assumptions, we are showing a surplus. We don't assume raises. We don't bake that into the multi-year projection. That has not been our practice since we negotiate year to year with our union. The one time we had a multi-year agreement, it did allow us to factor that in. So that's the revenue assumption. Most of the other revenue, shoreline money, constant, minimum state aid, constant. Secured property tax is the driver of that one. On the expenditure side, we have small enrollment growth happening next year. Demographic study shows 23 students. That correlates to about a 1.0 increase in certificated teaching. We factored that in. We factored in an additional 2 teachers as we look at our staffing formula and making sure the sites are staffing to that formula. So we are including that expenditure of additional staff in 26-27, and then that stays in there throughout. But that's offset by, as we look at in particular middle college program, enrollment has declined. Palo Alto Unified backed out of that. We stepped down from 4 teachers to 3 teachers this year at middle college. This budget assumes stepping down from 3 to 2 teachers to serve the 60-ish kids in middle college for next year, as well as another 0.6 equivalent staff position where we had somebody on leave. Somebody's coming back mid-year to help cover those classes. So I share that, not again the minute details, but to show that the level of staffing changes we look at when we build in those assumptions for next year. Other costs we look at and assume health and welfare costs. We include 5% increases each year. That tracks with historical trends for our district. I think it's better than industry standard. A lot of places are budgeting 10% increases. But like this year, our Kaiser rates were actually lower. It was a negative increase. Signal was a positive increase. So that equates to about 5%. We also do include factors for CPI, Consumer Price Index increase for all non-people related costs. So that's a lot of our goods and services, which are represented in books and supplies, operating expenses, things like that. The other thing that's helpful in terms of planning is a lot of the employee benefits, your retirement pension, STRS and PERS are staying pretty constant. And so even though it's a large amount, 19.1% for STRS and 26.4 to 26.9 for public employee retirement system PERS, at least it's consistent. We were trending, there was about a 10-year period where that was ramping up 1.5%, 2% every year. So we'll take consistency in the budget world, even if it's a high amount, because at least there's not significant increases. So that's a high level overview of a multi-year projection. It does show us meeting our 3% required reserve for economic uncertainty, a growing fund balance. This will all change, but this is the snapshot, what we have based upon those assumptions. You change any of those assumptions, you increase revenue from 3.5 to 4%, those numbers change. You reduce by another teacher or you add by one teacher, those expenditures change. That's why we really stress what is the assumptions on which that multi-year projection is based. And we have those discussions, and we brought it to executive cabinet and looked at their different positions and programs and what mid-year changes are happening. There are some things that we know now we will share with you at second interim, but was not quite finalized or not quite settled here to do at first interim. So we're constantly revising, reevaluating, assessing our staffing, our programs, our expenditures to be able to give the most accurate budget predictions we can. With that, just other pieces of information that are included in the budget packet that's helpful for people to understand. Ellis talked about the 4% raise that was agreed upon last year. Here's what the current cost of the 1% increase broken down by groups of people. So classified, certificated, other classified, other certificated are really our managers, our supervisors as a group. So a little above $1 million all in, including salary and the benefit increases that go with that. So you can use that. Groups can use around with that. Oh, if you plug in a 1% raise, what does that do to the budget numbers? How many teachers does that equate to when you're looking at $1 million? Things like that. Then this is just a plug to all fund spreadsheet. You have the big 11 by 17 paper. It lists all the funds. We focus our presentation on the general fund, but if you happen to know the adult ed budget, fund 11, cafeteria fund 13 are healthy, have strong balances, showing slight deficit spending, but a lot of that's because they had carryover from the prior year that they're spending down. Also shows the bond funds, developer fees, which you just approved that developer fee report. So that's what this slide references. Print's really small, so we're not going to talk a lot about it. And then we move forward and turn the calendar year, and we look at enrollment projections and staffing formula for next year, and we get revised property tax revenue, and then we're back in front of you by March 15th to present second interim budget report. These are the normal reference slides, and we have a great team Elvis and I get to work with, so we want to make sure we give them credit.
Thank you, Mike and Elvis. Do we have any clarifying questions? I do want to point out that it's 10:19, so we're gonna, if we get past the 10:30, we're gonna have to vote to extend it. Yes, okay.
I would like to know how we understand the one-time monies from the slides.
So
or do we not? We have to go to the report.
Yeah,
And even
one-
there, it's kind of hard to find.
Yeah, so the easiest way I would point you to would be Yeah, I mean, it's in the restricted column. It's in that
Okay.
state revenue, that 9.585 million.
Mhm.
Right? And then what we've done, and we've shared this with our extended cabinet of breaking those dollars up over 2 years. The sites have some discretion in terms of how they use it to support athletics, as well as some furniture and facilities items. So the expenditures show up down in the books and supplies and the operating expenses down in the restricted column. Half of them this year, half of that 1.3 million would be in 26, 27. But the actual numbers, Catherine, you're correct. We'd have to go into the SACS forms, the detailed stuff to see those numbers.
So basically, it's only state, is you're telling me?
Yeah, the significant, the 1.3
Not,
million.
we did get federal money a couple years back, but not anymore. That's the point.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there's no leftover one-time money
Correct.
from
This new one.
from the feds.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one-time money we got from the feds is gone. The ongoing money we get from the federal government is included
Yeah.
there. But yeah,
Got
the
that.
one-time money that was all infused and went to the state and schools, yeah, gone.
That was my only clarification.
Yeah, I have a question. So while preparing for this meeting, I looked at the numbers, not all of them, of course. I saw reduction in projected revenue, which makes sense due to taxes, right, by about 1.2 million. I saw increase in expenses over the budget by about 5 something million. And which results in a reduction in our general fund balance, close to, I think, 7 million, 7 to 8 million. But I didn't hear that story, right? When you're describing things and I didn't follow all of everything that you said.
Okay.
But can you address, like, how are we moving forward, given that our projected expenses have increased over what we budgeted, and our revenue is acknowledged to be lower than what we are traditionally used to?
Yeah, I think the quickest way to answer that, right, if I went to this slide in the orange column, right, you're talking about that original budget showed a surplus of about 3.7 million, right? And so the two big factors, so let's talk about revenue. Revenue went down by 1.2 million just on property tax alone, right? It was offset by some one-time money, but those are apples and oranges, right? One-time money is not ongoing. On the expenditure, the increase you talked about and Elvis mentioned was almost entirely due to the raise, the 4% raise. So when we presented and the board adopted the budget, the timing of that was not an approved raise when we had to present the budget. So that 4% salary increase was not reflected in that orange column, the adopted budget. So that's the biggest swing in the expenditures. Footnotes 5, 6, and 7 over there is the 4% raise for the salary schedule. And so that creates that big gap. You have less revenue, increased expenditures. What was a positive combined unrestricted, restricted now becomes a negative. Sorry to point in front of you, Elvis, the 1.8 million combined restricted, unrestricted. But on the other side, we broke out, on the unrestricted side, it's actually still a surplus of about $379,000. Lost in all that sometimes is the adopted budget has certain staffing levels that we move forward. And then when we actually go through all the hiring process in the summer, assigning all the teachers, finalizing the master schedule, turned out, there was fewer staff hired, which saved on some expenditures, right, to offset the increased salary schedule. So I'm trying to do it quickly, just to kind of address that question. But the biggest factors are less revenue from property taxes, higher expenditures is due to the raise.
So are we continuously operating now with more expenditures than the revenue?
Say that again. Are we
moving forward? Are we operating at a loss, basically?
No. So we are. Well, I'm separating that on the unrestricted side of the general fund. No,
Yeah.
It's a positive. The restricted side, yes, it's deficit spending.
But
that's pretty typical because you're spending down dollars you already had.
So this purple, this pink one will show combination of us spending down restricted and unrestricted combined.
Right.
So if you're looking just at unrestricted, there's always gonna be a positive with unrestricted. When you look at this, it's combining both restricted and unrestricted together. So if you were just to take the unrestricted side of this, you would be at a positive of $379,000. But since you are spending down restricted, that's all the grant money that we could get, and we're spending down on it, because we have it and sit in the bank. That's why this number would be.
Yeah, I think the challenge is to understand budget versus actual income versus revenue versus expense, right? So the budget, we spend more than we predicted. We receive less than we predicted. Yet we are still have a total income that's higher than our total expenses. Is that accurate? Yeah.
You also have to account the money that carryover that we have to account for will show up as a negative as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So
Okay.
even though we might not spend the money, it'll show up as a negative here combined as a collect, we're accounting for it as well. That's why it's the $2 million that I accounted for, it's in bucks and applied, that's us putting those numbers in the book saying $2 million of that is carryover for all these accounts, all about 50 accounts that we have to combine. Even though we may not spend it, we have to show as a negative because the way the accounting works in the school accounting, we have to carry the account.
Okay.
So again, unrestricted will always show positive, restricted side will show a negative. It's a dollar that we're spending that we have in the bank account now, we're going to spend down.
Yeah, and I'm holding up, this is a page in the blue packet. It's the more detailed representation of what we have up here. It doesn't break down unrestricted, restricted, but because of the line items, for the most part, the revenue decrease on LCFF is mostly unrestricted, that's 1.3 million. A large increase on the state revenue side was mostly restricted. That blurs that offset, but when we look at the multi-year projection, we make sure we're removing that 1.3 million in one-time revenue this year, so we're not factoring that into the future years. Like, that's not ongoing revenue, so we make sure in the multi-year projection we take that out. I think on the surface, if you were only looking at 1.2 million less, $4 million more in salary because of 4% raise, that's a $5.2 million swing. But you don't see a $5.2 million swing here because there's other things at play when we look at actual staffing costs, some other expenditures on a lower level net out, and negate some of that stuff. But if we only look at those two things, I think you'd anticipate a larger swing than we ended up seeing, which is helpful for the district in terms of our finances.
Okay, are we ready to move on to a vote? All right, do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the first interim budget report.
Second? Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Vadim. All in favor? Okay, so now for the first time, as I'm presiding a meeting, we have to vote because it's actually 10:30, and per our bylaws, we have to vote to extend the meeting past 10:30. So do I have a motion to extend the meeting past 10:30 because we still have several items on our agenda?
I'll motion.
Okay, do you want to pick a time, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I'll try to
Okay.
finish.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, that's 5-0. Okay, so next we move on to 15.3, which is CSB BA Board Policy Updates for 2025 second reading. Eric, do you have any comments?
We went over these last week. We obviously the ones from the business side are due to changes as far as controversial issues. We did add their request forms as suggested by our attorneys. That's why it's here and sent. Again, these are the policy CEE as a result of the uniform complaint process. Again, this was reviewed by our legal counsel. Recommendations to approve.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a comment about this.
Okay.
So looking at the policy and the changes in the policy, there's an introduction of a phrase called during instructional time, which limits the policy just to the instructional time and not outside of the instructional time. Because this change is driven by the complaint as a result of the exposure of students to bigotry during the Muslim Student Association event, the iftar event, as performed by the comedian. How does this change make a meaningful impact in the face of similar event like this?
Our previous policy did not talk about student events. It talked about solely about instructional time. It was the wish to add a little bit more oversight to student events. This does add oversight without violating First Amendment rights of students. We are close to that, but this, and as the attorney relayed to me, she did not want to write anything that would appear to be violating those First Amendment rights.
I don't see how this in any way affects First Amendment rights of students, because students do not have an absolute First Amendment right, especially when it comes to school campus. Our first
Actually,
obligation
I think most attorneys would argue that with you.
Okay, but our obligation is to make sure that school environment is inclusive and supportive. And I don't see how this policy, I think the policy protects the district, but does not protect students from being exposed to racist events such as the one we've experienced. So in my opinion, as a board, we should strengthen the policy where we actually think first and foremost about the student minds, and not so much as saying that if anything happens outside of instructional time, then we are not liable or responsible. And as a result, like, even asking for filling out the forms is unclear to me why we would do that, because if the event is happening outside of instructional time, the board policy doesn't cover that. We made no significant changes to validating the speakers. We, don't empower administration with the policy of saying that if the speaker, for example, has proven record of saying something that's racist and anti-Semitic, then they should not be allowed on campus. Again, this is not about student freedom of speech. Students can say other things. It's about students' ability to bring a speaker and then say, well, we didn't know that the speaker, we asked them not to delve into the current events or say something, but they did it anyway, so it's not our fault, now our responsibility. Yet, the problem is that it's a school environment, it's a school campus, and we expose students to something that should be safe, right? They should not be exposed to such content. And stopping that event was not really realistic. It happens very quickly. You cannot expect anybody making a very quick decision that the speaker is violating the policy. So, in my opinion, we can do a lot better with the policy than it is right now. I'd rather not change something that is already insufficient to something that continues to be insufficient.
I would prefer, in the interest of time, that we pull that particular one and vote on the others for tonight and bring that back, maybe.
Again, I don't know
I mean,
what we hope to gain by pulling this. I'd just assume vote, and if And that if people don't want this policy, then we'll ask our attorneys to draw up a different one. Again, I don't know what we hope to gain out of that. I respect Board Member Katz's opinion. However, in working with legal counsel on this policy, I don't think we're going to find anything better. The event that is leading multiple conversations over this issue also had some very, very positive aspects to it. In fact, remembering Malik Mustafa talk about an interfaith prayer group in their locker room and how much it empowered a lot of the 49ers, that was a very powerful moment. Hearing the MMA speaker talk about how she used her faith as inspiration to become a champion, it was a very positive note. We're talking about what amounted to less than 1 minute over a program that lasted for over 2 hours. And granted, it was horrible what that comedian did, but every one of our staff members did what they were supposed to do. And this person burst right through the expectations. So again, I strongly urge you to pass this, what we've already sent to CDE, that has already been reviewed by the legal counsel that's going to defend us down the road if there is an issue on these items. I don't think policy is ever going to fix the concerns that you're looking for. And again, that's a second look from the legal counsel.
Does anyone else have any other comments before I make my comment? So, the administrative regulation does have changes directly for staff to take action. My main concern is that we have 2 different guest speaker forms. And because guest speakers are part of district policy, I'd like us to standardize on 1 district form. I also think this will reduce friction for principals. They can implement district policy, but they cannot change it. So clarity at district level matters. So seeing a Los Altos logo, high school logo on it, and also they're slightly different.
The Los Altos one should not be on there. The one that says guest speaker request form MVHS, that should be used. That outline should be the one that's used for both.
Right, I'm fine with that one. And I think the high school logos are great, but I think it should be clear it's coming from the district office. And I think that protects our principals. So if they have to say no, they can just say district policy, too bad, so sad. Go complain to a trustee. I can't do anything about it, which is what we're here for. So I'm okay with it. Given the constraints we have, I think we've discussed this. And Eric went back a second time and the lawyer said that this is the best we could do. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm like, if this is the best we can do, this is the best we can do. So I'm prepared to vote.
In that case, I move that we accept this.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so have some similar concerns. I have to admit first that I really appreciate. First of all, I really appreciate the work that into this. I see a ton of work being done on this policy. I think it does strengthen some of the things like review for instructional settings and student-led clubs, which is important. But I do think there continue to be gaps. The remaining one is it's still not clear what happens with the other school-sponsored events. Anything that's not a student club, but non-instructional. PTSAs, staff run lunchtime events, a variety of other things. How does that event fit in? It seems not to be discussed at all. I think generally what I've seen when I compare it to other districts I checked out is that they have a single umbrella policy for any outside speaker. And it's also pretty much the same standards as instructional time. And so that creates a lot of consistency, lack of gaps, and sort of an understanding this is how everyone should be operating. That said, we need to vote.
I move that we accept this policy.
Okay, do I have a second?
Well, second.
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Esme. All in favor? Okay, so that's 4. Vadim, are you voting no or
I'm
abstaining?
voting no.
Okay, so
I just want to
4.
make a comment that relying on people to do the right thing is not an excuse for not having a strong policy to prevent bigots from showing up on our campus. And that's a problem that I have with this policy. It doesn't do any justice to that.
Okay, so noted. So it's 4-1 with Vadim voting no. Okay, so next we move on to 15.4, which is our high school graduation requirements. Eric, do you have any comments?
The graduation requirements, this is what the board has already voted for. This is just a simple change that changes the class of 2027 and beyond to have 35 credits of social studies. That's ethnic studies, world history, US history, and government and econ until we get to the personal finance. And then we will have to revisit this again.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments before we consider a motion? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Or actually, it's a first reading, sorry.
Oh, never.
This one is an action.
Oh, it's an action. Sorry. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, getting late, sorry.
I second.
Okay, so moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, now we move on to a first reading. So this is a first reading of PE requirements recommended by staff to conform to education codes.
And very, very quickly, these changes are to be consistent with law regarding freshman PE and the fact that they cannot take freshman PE through independent study.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay,
What are the
Vadim?
examples of, what are the examples of circumstances under which freshmen would want to take independent study for PE?
Usually they are involved in outside sport. They could be a figure skater and need time for training and want to be a little bit more want their time less regimented during the school day so that they could take so they could be a world-class figure skater. Items like that.
So, and this does not affect our policy already that if you're playing a sport in the school setting.
That is not independent study.
Right.
Because they're playing a sport on our site.
Yeah. So it's only these other kind of sports.
Alex?
So just to confirm, it sounds like previously, if I'm a top-notch figure skater, I did not have to take PE in the district in neither one of the grades. Now I do have to take it in 9th grade.
You're legally required to take 9th grade PE in high school. We can have options sophomore year and beyond, electives.
When you say legally by California law? or-
Yes, it is an ed code regarding how many minutes of PE you must take up until the 9th grade.
Through the 9th grade.
Through them.
And then it requires a second year of PE, but you don't have to do it and through the 9th grade.
So we
standards.
previously had a legal gap in our policy?
Or is this a
Yes.
new law?
It is not a new law. I see.
It's a discovery.
But
Okay, and from that point of view, I move that we,
It's a just.
It's a first reading.
Oh, never
So
mind.
Are we ready to
So-
move on?
yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So next we move on to, it's actually also a first reading.
Okay.
Even though it says updates, but it's the first reading of comprehensive health education and sexual health and HIV AIDS prevention. So it's another recommendation by staff. Eric, do you have any comments?
Doesn't say that.
This is again, based upon new requirements for our health. This would include the fentanyl and everything else. And this is to bring us up to date regarding health, our board policy regarding health. And HIV education.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, all right, seeing none, let's move on to our 15.7, a first reading of several personnel policies recommended by staff.
And this again is another update to legal. And just by the way, we get updates from CSBA whenever they change their policies. We get those updates and we review them. This is, these updates are related to all the personnel and human resources related changes to law. And this is to get us up to date.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. All right, we now turn to 16.0 board operations and 16.1 suggestions for future board meetings. I heard that Vadim would like a list of the timelines for special ed.
I could do that in an update.
In an update. Are there any other? We also have a fairly full agenda, but if anyone has any suggestions, please raise your hand.
I'll save mine for some other time.
Okay. All right, so we're ready to move on? Okay, great. All right, Eric, do we have any communications or correspondence?
I have nothing for 16.2 or 16.3.
Okay, great. So we're moving on then to our next meeting is Monday, January 12th, 7 p.m. or 2026, I should say, because it's the next year, right here in the boardroom at the MVLA district office. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second? Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex.